Chapter 107. No one was lazy. Everyone started to train quietly. Was it impossible to do it 3,000 times? As long as they trained like son-in-law, they could do it. It was their first time seeing such a perfect concussion punch. The disciples who mainly trained in concussion punch were all infatuated. Concussion punch was not some unorthodox fist technique. Many disciples knew of it. But Tang Tian's concussion punch was very different from what they knew. Bing looked at the disciples who were training in the field. His eyes flashed a look of satisfaction. Sima Xianxia choked. Tang Tian's cold and emotionless words made everyone shiver. Even Shangguan Wei and Shang Guanzhu swallowed hard. Son-in-law was too cold. No wonder son-in-law was so powerful. Tang Tian ignored the gazes that floated over, but his tone became cold. What? Who has a different opinion? The discussions became much softer, and the gazes they gave Tang Tian had an additional trace of respect. Amauri was puzzled. Why are you so obedient? Even the powerful son-in-law was so hardworking, so risking his life. What reason did they have to be lazy? What reason did they have to retreat? The three of them turned to look at Sima Xiangshan. Sima Xiangshan choked again. Quantitative change would always lead to qualitative change. In every disciple's eyes, there was something like a flame that quickly rose. Yu Mingqiu, such a ferocious person, was able to take care of Wei and Baju. But in front of son-in-law it was not enough. Go. Han Bingning replied very straightforwardly. The crowd was in an uproar. Many people's gazes became distrustful. They felt that Tang Tian was completely messing around. 3,000 times he was really bragging too much. Then I will continue training. Tang Tian threw out a sentence and immersed himself in training. Shanghai Wei quivered. He immediately stood up and shouted, "What are you all standing there for? Start training." Tang Tian's first order was for them to start using the martial skills they were familiar with. Originally they were still muttering in their hearts. Could this be the so-called cultivation method of the son-in-law? All the disciples were shocked by this scene. Tang Tian's concussion punch was not bad, but he had yet to comprehend a killer move. Although it was not like before where he could comprehend a killer move by practicing a few punches, Tang Tian's cultivation still continued the same train of thought. Today's training task is very simple. Practice the martial skill you are most familiar with 3,000 times. Perfect. It was a perfect concussion punch. At this point no one made a sound. Sima Xiangshan faintly said, "Chia Shanghai is not here, so I will accompany Tang Tian to have some fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I never thought that Tang Tian would actually grow to such a powerful extent." 2 hours later, Tang Tian still did not stop. It could be seen that he had used up a lot of his energy and he was drenched in sweat. After an hour, everyone was too tired and many of them fell to the ground. This thought flashed through everyone's mind at the same time. Once he entered the state of cultivation, Tang Tian was completely oblivious to everything else. The disciples below had always been secretly paying attention to Tang Tian. Seeing that Tang Tian was actually cultivating with them, they were even more curious and could not help but sneak a peek. Amauri had a strange face and said, You actually did not think of it, so strange. Fundamental Tang is a godlike young man. It was normal for him to become stronger. But Amauri, have also become very strong. I really want to quickly see Fundamental Tang and have a good fight with him. Let's see whose improvement is greater." Uncle Qian was also alarmed. He immediately put down what he was doing and rushed over. He knew better than anyone else how precious the method that Tang Tian had imparted was. 2 years ago, Tang Tian was a retainer who was still cultivating fundamental martial techniques. But now Tang Tian had already become a strong martial artist who could defeat Yu Mingqiu. Without saying a word, he picked up the disciple, bang, and forcefully smashed him into the limestone tiles. They usually cultivated and many of them boasted that they were hardworking. But seeing how Tang Tian cultivated, they received a huge shock. It was the first time they saw someone cultivating like his life depended on it. That's right, it was his life depended on it. Compared to Tang Tian, their cultivation. Tang Tian, who was on the stage, still did not have any signs of stopping. Suddenly, Bing was filled with curiosity towards Chia Shangguan. From the soldiers below he could see the standard of the general. Although Chia Shangguan did not know how to train soldiers, but he could see that these young men, to their young patriarch, sincerely loved and respected him. Seeing that Sima Xiangshan was defeated again and again, Han Bingning and Liang Qiu's eyes revealed a smile. At the training grounds, all the Shangguan disciples were gathered and it was dead silent. They looked curiously at the young man with a swollen face on the stage. Was this the rumored son-in-law? To be able to cultivate concussion fists to this stage, you must have put in a lot of effort. A mournful scream and the disciple fainted. 5 hours later, Tang Tian was so tired that he was on the verge of collapse. He strenuously sat cross-legged and began to meditate. Tang Tian, who had entered the state of cultivation, immediately threw all other matters to the back of his mind. He could save a lot of time and effort. Tang Tian glanced around. Seeing that no one was slacking off, he began to cultivate by himself. Although these people's strength was terrible, but they had a fighting spirit. Bing could accept newcomers who were not strong enough, but he hated those who lacked fighting spirit. Without waiting for the disciple to explain, Tang Tian grabbed him and laughed sinisterly. Now you want to slack off, you must be tired of living. Tang Tian was immediately embarrassed. The two of them fought. Although Bing agreed, but he also mentioned that all the problems regarding cultivation had to be listened to. Just as he finished speaking, he heard Tang Tian's voice. The two of you have a mission of 5,000 repetitions. In terms of levels, there were many people who were of the same level as Tang Tian. But in terms of fighting strength, none of them were his match. Bring a bucket of water, wake him up and continue training. And I'm going too. I'm looking forward to meeting Fundamental Tang. Liang Qiu laughed. If I say it's okay, then it's okay. Bing said without any politeness. Take note, young man, you have no right to question. Tang Tian's figure leaped up and with one jump, he appeared in front of the disciple. I'm going to find Fundamental Tang, are you guys coming? A Maori raised his hand. Actually, Tang Tian felt that these disciples were quite strong. Most of them were 4th level and above, had solid foundations and were young. It could be seen that when Chia was choosing these people, he had put in a lot of thought. Suddenly, Tang Tian's gaze congealed. He saw some people slacking in the crowd. He was secretly happy. Just as he was about to warn the others, the chicken was sent over. Almost everyone knew son-in-law's strength was unfathomable. Luckily there was Tang Tian, this abnormal person, around. The others could not help but be motivated. Han Bingning said coldly, "This rascal has always been so vile." Tang Tian's words caused an uproar below. Training 3,000 times a day, how was that possible? Absolutely impossible. Most of their standards were 4th level martial techniques. Don't talk about 3,000 times. To be able to train 700 to 800 times a day was already extremely powerful. Everyone was resting while discussing softly. Everyone's training immediately became serious. As for completing 3,000 times, they still felt that it was completely impossible. Their thinking was very simple. Anyway, they just had to train like this. When no one could complete it, would son-in-law beat everyone up? Shangguan Wei and Shangguan Zhu were even more ashamed. Sima Xiangshan's face twitched. He squeezed out a sentence from his teeth. Let's go. Looking at these youths who were full of vigor, Bing felt that Chia Shangguan was really not simple. So when they heard that son-in-law was going to personally guide them in training, all the disciples were roused. They fought to be the first. Everyone's faces were filled with anticipation. Since it was so, then it was better to settle it earlier. Many were even fantasizing if Miss and son-in-law were to work together, then who in Immortal constellation would be their opponent? Actually, Uncle Qian was worried for nothing. The battle where Tang Tian defeated Yu Mingqiu, who knew how many Shangguan disciples witnessed it. In one night, this soul-stirring battle had long spread among the Shangguan disciples. Son-in-law's physical strength is really valiant. Tang Tian's expression was focused, fist after fist, meticulous. The reason why Bing agreed was not only because he was provoked, there was another reason. He wanted to help Tang Tian solve his worries. Tang Tian and Chia Shangguan ultimately had to walk on the Heaven's Road, walking on an unknown journey. If the Shangguan clan did not have enough strength to protect themselves, the two of them would definitely not be able to leave with peace of mind. Tang Tian's true power recovered. He opened his eyes, looked at the bustling training scene and was satisfied. But after a few glances he could not help but ask, Bing, is this really okay? After 3 hours, Tang Tian was still persevering. Under his feet, there was a puddle of water that was formed by the continuous dripping of sweat. Every fist of his was not the least bit sloppy. His gaze was so focused that nothing else could be seen. Hearing this, a Maori turned his head in astonishment. You didn't think of that? Tang Tian saw that there were people slacking and immediately sneered. 3,000 times, no matter if you are willing or not, whoever misses one round will continue training here, training until you are done. Those who intentionally want to muddle through, those who want to slack, first ask my fist. Shanghai Wei staggered while Shangguanzhu was very straightforward and started. 3,000 times? Isn't that a joke? I never thought that Tang Tian would create such a huge commotion when he just arrived. Liang Qiu leisurely raised his cup and took a sip. It's a pity that Miss Jia is out, it's really unfortunate. Tang Tian did not mind. I'm waiting for you to turn trash into treasure, godlike uncle. There's nothing better than this to defend your chief instructor's glory. A bunch of trash. Bing glanced at them and said mercilessly. Tang Tian ignored everyone and lifted the unconscious disciple. His control of his strength was extremely good. It looked like he was going to take someone's life, but it only made the other party faint and feel pain but not injured. The minister said we can't casually walk around. Sima Xiangshan poured cold water on him. Uncle Qian was worried that there would be people who did not know what was good for them, and personally gave an extremely strict order. In order to carry out his ideas, the Shangguan clan was almost completely cleaned up by Chia Shangguan for the past 2 years. The current Shangguan clan, although their power was still weak, but they showed a kind of vigorous vitality. Chapter 108. Unless this perverted fellow was always as perverted as before. If it was anyone else who said this, they would definitely pick up a brick and smash that person's head open to see if there was any paste inside. But the person who said it was Tang Tian, they did not know what to say. Liang Qiu muttered, since we are all from Star Wind City, if we are in the same powerhouse we can take care of each other. Out of everyone's expectations, Han Bingning suddenly said coldly, I will join too. On the outer layer of his fist, there was suddenly a transparent ball of light the size of a coconut. It was as though the thin layer of window paper was gently poked through. The beautiful scenery outside in that moment could be seen. A look of admiration flashed past Liang Qiu's eyes and he praised, as expected, a fundamental Tang vacuum jolt as the killing technique of concussion fist. Its power is extremely strong. Since you have gained enlightenment on it, why not when you are at the 6th level train in vacuum punch? It will definitely yield twice the result with half the effort. Hearing Amaury's incessant chatter, Tang Tian's heart felt an indescribable warmth. Amaury's temperament was magnanimous and simple, just that he was a bit talkative. Everyone's face changed, their footsteps involuntarily stopped, as though they were struck by a spell. An indescribable emotion pervaded Tang Tian's heart. In the past, every punch of Tang Tian's from concussion fist would bring forth countless of fine ripples. These fine ripples were caused by the vibrations in the air caused by true power. These ripples had a strong destructive power and could easily shatter rocks. Until Tang Tian appeared, he was obviously only at the 5th level, but he displayed a power that far exceeded the 5th level. But before today, many people thought that son-in-law could be so strong, was borrowing the power of the armor. But when they realized that the seemingly perfect concussion fist, son-in-law actually spent a large amount of time, and continuously continued to train. Liang Qiu smiled and asked with interest, Tang Tian, what you did just now, was that vacuum jolt? How is that possible? When the two of them let go, Tang Tian's face turned into a mocking expression. Everyone's faces were still filled with shock. Only Amaury laughed out loud, stepped forward and gave him a bear hug, loudly said, Fundamental Tang, long time no see. You really surprised me now. You're getting more and more powerful. Originally, I wanted to fight with you, but after seeing your punch, I don't have the energy. Young man, I'll leave the task of saving the world to you. Fundamental Tang. Tang Tian practiced tirelessly. Nowadays, the trend was to judge based on one's level. The higher one's level was better than the lower one. Everyone's goal was to break through to a higher realm. With regards to martial techniques, very few people would put in the effort to train them to a perfect state. No matter how perfect a low-level martial technique was, it would not be as strong as a high-level martial technique. Amaury and his party found the Shangguan family and revealed their identities. Coincidentally, the one who received them was Uncle Qian. When Uncle Qian heard that these young people were all from Star Wind City and were looking for the young Master Tian, he immediately brought them in. Hearing that, Tang Tian laughed bitterly and told them about his situation. Other than killing Kong Yulin, he did not hide the fact that he had joined Jing Hao's faction. The light ball only lasted for a second before it shattered, and the sound of the explosion resonated throughout the entire field. Tang Tian retracted his gaze and said to the rest with a face of sympathy, "This guy was with you guys, but you guys did not kill him. You guys are too kind." Han Bingning's hand touched the hilt of his sword, his eyebrows drooped and cold qi permeated everywhere. "You're saying I'm a 10,000-year ice mountain?" 5th level true power, activating a 4th level fist technique. He felt something different from before. This difference was extremely minute and Tang Tian only noticed it today. That was a vacuum. A soundless punch without any energy. The three's gazes landed on Sima Xianxia. Everyone only felt a blur in front of them and Tang Tian had rushed in front of them. Han Bingning and the rest felt a chill in their hearts. The wind from the fist gradually disappeared. But now Tang Tian's concussion fist, the ripples of the concussion were getting lesser and lesser, and the wind from the fist was also quickly disappearing. Tang Tian's concussion fist was getting less and less powerful, and looked like an ordinary punch. But in reality this meant that Tang Tian's energy was getting more and more concentrated, and the energy did not leak out at all. Fundamental Tang, you have to understand a lively martial man who has been holding back for so long. They are too boring. One is a 10,000-year ice mountain, one is sinister, and the last one is actually a vegetarian. Can you understand that in this world there are actually creatures that are vegetarian? And this creature is actually Big Brother Xianxia. Oh my god, my idol is broken just like that. Of course, don't worry, this will not stop a lively martial man's determination to create his own path of martial arts. Training in the end was a process of grinding, and the higher the realm the more effort was required. Tang Tian knew that Xianxia was giving him pointers and he said gratefully, "Thank you Big Brother Liang." Tang Tian said honestly, "I intend to train every type of martial technique to perfection, and it would be best if I can comprehend a killing technique." The more concentrated the energy of the fist, the stronger the power. Everyone was stunned. The 5th level true power was even more surging, regardless if it was the heavenly dragon energy or the crane body energy. With just a thought from Tang Tian, the energy contained in the true power would burst forth, and the explosive power would be even more astonishing. Tang Tian turned his head and asked in surprise, "Lively martial man, did you name it yourself?" A Maori's incessant chatter immediately attracted the dissatisfaction of the others. "This is concussion." Tang Tian nodded his head. "Yes, I also just comprehended it." The air in the entire training ground seemed to be moved by an invisible hand, and suddenly surged towards the broken transparent ball of light. As if there was a silent sigh, it floated past his heart. A Maori suddenly became proud. Of course, such a unique name, only a passionate and lively martial man can think of it. His eyes were thoughtful. But when Tang Tian's fist wind disappeared, everyone was shocked. Every punch of Tang Tian obviously did not make any sound, but there was an indescribable sense of danger. Everyone's state of mind was involuntarily attracted to Tang Tian's fists, and could not move their eyes as if it contained some kind of magic. They stared blankly and completely forgot to train. The huge training grounds unknowingly became quiet. So fast. Concussion fist was obviously a rank 4 martial technique. It was obviously a rank 4 martial technique. No one would have thought that it was actually a Maori who was the first to recover from the shock. He shook his head and shouted, "Let's not fight anymore, let's not fight anymore." "How can we fight anymore? Perverted Tang is too perverted. Will this guy die if he doesn't comprehend the killing technique?" Vacuum quake was just a legend. They had never seen anyone master it before, but today it was displayed in front of their eyes. This kind of impact and shock was strong. Even if they were all mentally strong people in that moment, their minds were still blank. Only then did the others wake up. Rank was everything, this was what many people thought. Before this, Shanghai Wei and the rest also thought the same. When they rushed to the training grounds, they just happened to see Tang Tian's transparent ball of light. Only Tang Tian's fist after fist, completely forgetting himself. Tang Tian bellowed. With a few leaps he appeared in front of everyone. Everyone understood the logic, but very few people could do it. The current martial techniques were passed down through spirit cards, easy to learn but hard to master. Gold-grade spirit cards were expensive and not everyone could afford to buy them. And silver-grade and bronze-grade spirit cards, the comprehension contained within them was not complete. Also, the so-called comprehension differed from person to person. It might not be suitable for him, like the martial artist and spirit cards not being compatible. It happened frequently. "Tang Tian, how are you doing in the outer barracks?" Han Bingning suddenly raised his head and asked. Countless of energy shot out. Tang Tian's body was as imposing as a mountain, not moving an inch. Housefly cow, you're still so long-winded. The concussion fist in Tang Tian's hands started to change slowly. Humph, it's just vacuum quake, young man Tang, your realm is already at the 5th level, why are you still training in a 4th level fist technique? Sima Xianxia said faintly, his triangular eyes were like a snake's eyes, flickering with an ominous glint. Tang Tian's senses were already abnormally sharp. Continuously training the fists, those hard-to-notice details gradually surfaced. Housefly cow. The 5th level true powers upgrade was all-round, regardless of strength or finesse. Compared to the 4th level true power, there was a qualitative leap. Some of the finer details of the concussion fist, under the 5th level true power, became even clearer. The true power in his body was boiling. Tang Tian felt extremely comfortable, one punch after another following his heart's desire. Every little detail was like flowing water, gliding past his heart. It was extremely wonderful. Tang Tian's heart was warm, but he knew it was not that easy. After thinking for a while, he said, don't be anxious, don't leak the news, I'll ask Big Bro Jing Hao first. That punch actually caused the air to be annihilated, forming a vacuum ball. If you have the time, you should train more true power. High-level martial techniques are the way of the king. Amauri immediately shut up. He had long forgotten to supervise others' training, and also forgot that this was Chie's house. The current him only had his own martial techniques, only his fists. He suddenly roared, his true power boiling. A crane's cry sounded out, a dragon's roar sounded out. The boiling true power suddenly gushed out. Tang Tian did not think and punched out. Everyone was surprised. They originally thought that Tang Tian would definitely be valued by Kong Yulin. They did not expect him to be exiled. Shangguan Zhu and the rest who personally witnessed the change were extremely shocked. Although the Shangguan family had declined in the past few years, but their inheritance was still there. Although the disciples were weak, their eyesight was not bad. Amauri, I want to join your faction too. Amauri raised his hand. As expected of fundamental Tang. Amauri clapped his hands, his eyes lit up, he was extremely excited. Only a godlike young lad would have such courage. A lively martial man also wants to learn from a godlike young lad. Oh, just thinking about it makes me excited. What a world filled with fighting spirit. Tang Tian had also come out from his state. Coincidentally hearing Amauri's voice, he was startled, turned his head to look, seeing Amauri and the rest, he was immediately overjoyed. They had heard before that when Concussion Fist was trained to the peak, it could shatter the air, forming a partial vacuum. That was the famous vacuum quake. Sima Xianxia waved his hand, I'm fine with anything. Amauri was such a stubborn person. Tang Tian was not surprised, but Han Bingning actually joined in. Tang Tian was surprised. Chapter 109. Amauri and his entourage stayed for a while before they left. Before they left the address of the inn they were staying at. Amauri and his entourage were newcomers and did not have the honorable martial plate. When they found out that Tang Tian was already a bronze-ranked martial artist, everyone could not help but stare with their eyes wide open, their faces lifeless. Even when young Miss was around, these brats did not work so hard. Only then did their expressions soften. These little rascals, they really changed a lot. Every Shangguan disciple was deeply shocked. House you? Yeah, I didn't expect that little rascal to be able to persevere. In the past, whenever he trained, he would complain incessantly. From fist techniques to finger techniques, light body techniques, leg techniques, palm techniques. There was a saying in the Shangguan family, young Master Tian said, sweat does not lie. It's not too late now, as long as they can persevere, they will definitely be successful. Yu Mingwei did not say a word. Young Miss and young Master Tian were two completely different types. Young Miss's talent was extremely high, her intellect unparalleled, she was flawless. Everyone worshipped her, obeyed her, but it was hard to draw strength from her. Young Miss was too perfect, so perfect that it made people distance themselves. Yu Mingwei's expression softened, his heart calmed down and he hurriedly said, that's good, that's good. Hearing that, Yu Mingwei's expression changed, even his voice changed. Light, honorable martial alliance? They were all youths, their bodies were filled with hot blood, their self-esteem had not been extinguished. The figure that did not know fatigue in the martial arts arena was constantly motivating them. Every time they wanted to give up, their eyes would always look for that figure. These few days there were a few strangers in the Yu family. Their origins had not been investigated. Uncle Qian was quite happy. He could see that these people were quite strong. If young Master Tian encountered any trouble, he would not be alone and helpless. Yu Qingzai's handsome face was gloomy, his eyes flashed with hatred. He said coldly, Jia Shengguan has many pursuers from different clans and races. As long as we slightly incite them, they will definitely gather together and find trouble with Tang Tian. We only need to plant some spies in the dark to fan the flames. I'm afraid the Shengguan family will. Hee. Uncle Qian felt relieved when he saw the young people sweating profusely. The cold voice was like a venomous snake in the dark. Yu Mingwei suppressed the worry in his heart and pretended to be calm. Actually, it's nothing. Don't rush to the front, don't stand out, hide in the shadows and try to pull more people, especially the young masters of the other families. It's best if the two sides have a conflict. I'll see how the Shengguan family will deal with it then. He never thought that he would actually be involved with the Honorable Martial Alliance, such a huge power. Not to mention the Yu clan, even the entire Immortal Constellation Mountain, would not be able to contend against such a huge power. Aoi Yuzawa's eyes flashed with a fierce glint, his fighting spirit was high. If it was Jia Shengguan, he would still have some restraining fear, but an ignorant fool was destined to become his stepping stone. A tall person stared at him, his expression displeased as he interrupted Aoi Yuzawa's words. Don't tell me young Master Zai Qing is not willing? Yu Qingzai was Yu Mingwei's son. He and Jia Shengguan were in the same school. Before Jia Shengguan returned, he was the most dazzling person in the entire school, the leader of the entire school. With a single call, hundreds would respond. But when Jia Shengguan came, he was forgotten. The strong contrast made him bear a grudge in his heart. All along he had been secretly thinking of ways to deal with Jia Shengguan. The pride of the youths made them quiet down. Aoi Yuzawa also regained his senses. He was originally not stupid. After pondering for a while, he felt that no matter what, the Shengguan clan and Tang Tian had no chance of winning. This matter looked dangerous, but it was actually not as bad as imagined. The Shengguan clan was naturally not afraid to deal with the Yu clan, but if they incurred the wrath of the masses, even if Jia Shengguan was here, there was nothing he could do. Respectfully send off the two masters. Yu Mingwei bowed respectfully to send them off. Sweat, everyone had it. He knew that these two people were cold and merciless, killing people like flies. With one look, he knew that the two of them already had the intention to kill. Looking at his son's ashen face, he knew that he could not reject. He clenched his teeth, braced himself and said, My son is afraid that he is not capable enough, and is afraid of delaying the two masters' plans. Since the two masters trust me so much, even if I have to go through water and tread on fire, I will not hesitate. His age was similar to them and even younger than some of the disciples, but his face, that still had a trace of childishness, was angular, firm lines, made him look more robust than his age. After the two of them left, Aoi Yuzawa's face was ashen. Father, this. After 10 consecutive days of high-intensity training, the daily workload was constantly increasing. Everyone was clenching their teeth and persevering. No one had the slightest bit of complaints. The handlebar mustache man was rather dissatisfied with Yu Mingwei's performance, but he also knew that this was human nature. He said, You don't have to worry too much. Immortal Constellation is such a small place. The power of the Honorable Martial Alliance, let it be like that. Other than Kong Yu, there are no other strong martial artists. The matters of the Honorable Martial Alliance, naturally we will worry about it. Now think carefully, what ideas do you have? The handlebar mustache man said, The higher-ups have already sent a senior expert to help. Kong Yu, do not have to worry. But if we do not do anything when the higher-ups come, it will not look good for everyone. Listening to the discussion of the clansmen in hushed voices, Uncle Qian looked at the training grounds, and a smile quietly appeared on his face. Every day when he had time, he would come to the side to watch the youths train. This had already become his favorite thing to do every day. Seeing the unwillingness to admit defeat on the faces of the youths, he would always feel that the future of the Shengguan clan would definitely be better. Their passion, their unwillingness to admit defeat, their ideals, their ambitions. If only the son-in-law had come earlier. This kind of energetic atmosphere quietly pervaded the Shengguan clan. The entire Shengguan clan would come to the training grounds every day to watch these youths train. Because they were afraid of disturbing the children, all of their eyes were filled with joy and anticipation for the future. But everyone's eyes lit up. The handlebar mustache man praised, "Good plan. It is still young Master Zai Qing who is quick-witted and resourceful. This matter will be handed over to young Master Zai Qing to handle. He is a member of the Honorable Martial Alliance," a tall person said indifferently. Hearing that, Awa Yuzawa could not help but be stunned, and then his face changed. Although his heart was filled with hatred and came up with such a sinister plan, but he was definitely not willing to put himself in danger. Uncle Qian had already started to secretly investigate the Yu clan. Although this matter is dangerous, but it is also an opportunity. If you can achieve great merits this time and enter the eyes of the various masters, it will be very beneficial to your future. Yu Mingwei looked at Awa Yuzawa and encouraged, "I do not want you to stay in Immortal constellation forever. You have to go to a bigger constellation and push our Yu clan to a more glorious stage." Miss had chosen a good son-in-law. The training grounds seemed to be enveloped with a strange aura, silent and energetic. But until the young Master Tian showed how hardworking he was, then they were truly moved. Uncle Qian's smile froze on his face. There were people who were so tired that they laid on the ground panting, but after resting for a while they struggled to get up and continued to train. There were people who fell from exhaustion, but after sitting for a while they continued to train. Young Master Tian was not smarter than them, but just more hardworking than them, even more hardworking. They looked at young Master Tian practicing a set of fist techniques for hundreds of thousands of times. They were speechless. They had never been so shocked before. In this world there was actually someone who could do this. Tang Tian's son-in-law was like a monster who did not know fatigue, sweating day and night. They did not have any complaints at all. "My son did not mean it that way," Yu Mingwei hurriedly explained. "Nothing was more convincing than comparing with someone of the same age in front of you day and night." He tried to defend himself. "My ability is still lacking, but I have a good candidate. Miss has a good eye." Uncle Qian looked at the raging scene, and in his muddy old eyes flashed a trace of gratification. "I did not expect that Tang Tian was actually so powerful." The current head of the Yu clan, Yu Mingwei's face was solemn and said, "He is obviously only at the 5th level, but he is so fierce. Such a powerful young man, he should not be a nobody." Everyone's gaze landed on Yu Qingze, and a tall person raised his eyebrows. "Speak." Young Master Tian's talent compared to Miss was not worth mentioning, but his hardworking was unparalleled. Because Tang Tian's son-in-law's training was many times more than theirs. Son-in-law's training was not concealed at all, and everyone could see the whole process. They could see Tang Tian's son-in-law's thinking, Tang Tian's son-in-law's trial and error. But more than that, it was repeated over and over again tirelessly, so boring that it made one's hair stand on end. But at this time a subordinate ran in with a flustered expression, ran to Uncle Qian's ear and whispered a few words. He felt it even more deeply. Yu Mingqiu's death did not cause the entire Yu clan to sink into sorrow. Yu Mingqiu had faded from everyone's sight for many years. His sudden appearance made everyone feel surprised, but that was all. Suddenly Yu Qingze, who was beside Yu Mingwei, said, "I have an idea." Mrs. Talent was unattainable, but young Master Tian's achievements were all sweat, real sweat. No one retreated. Everyone knew that they had to be hardworking. Every disciple of the Shangguan clan knew. The Shangguan clan's resurgence in these 2 years was unstoppable. The long-forgotten tentacles were quietly reviving. Although because the Shangguan clan had not fully recovered, these tentacles could not be compared to when the Shangguan clan was at its peak, but it could not be ignored. "The sun is so beautiful." Awa Yuzawa was stunned. He did not expect his father to have such high expectations of him, and was overwhelmed with emotions. He said excitedly, "Father, don't worry. Your son will definitely settle this matter well." "Then we'll have to trouble young Master Zai Qing." A tall person nodded towards the two and said, "We're going to rest." Everyone was risking their lives, and in everyone's eyes flashed a flame that belonged to the youth. Chapter 110. This rascal can't run away today. Just thinking about it makes me angry. If I don't beat him up, I won't feel at ease. Just a step away was the young master of the Yun clan, Yun Yao. The Yun clan was established in business, and was the #1 merchant clan in Immortal Constellation Mountain. Their financial power was so strong that even the Shangguan clan could not compare. That's right. Any random Tom, Dick or Harry wants to dominate Miss Chia. Let's see if our fists agree or not. No matter how one looked at it, the Shangguan clan had fallen this time. Furthermore, after this incident, it would be a fatal blow to the Shangguan clan's reputation, which was still recovering. They were all pampered playboy and had never seen such a scene before. They were all scared out of their wits just now. But when they regained their senses, all of them were enraged. He took a step forward and walked out of the crowd. His face was still wearing a smile that was not a smile. He looked around and his tone was full of sarcasm and disdain. Since when did the matters between me and Chia become the place for trash like you to point fingers at me? Everyone stared blankly at Tang Tian. None of them could believe their own eyes. A large group of youths gathered together. All of them were dressed luxuriously. Beside them were many servants. Looking around, there were more than 200 people. Every one of the youths had an unfriendly face. Their expressions were gloomy. Before he could finish his sentence, his figure disappeared. Tang Tian was dead meat this time. Such a ferocious fellow. No matter what, he could not let anything happen to the young Master Tian. Even if the Shangguan clan offended all the other clans, he would not hesitate. He had followed Chia Shangguan through the most difficult years. Now that he was alone, Miss was like a daughter to him. In his eyes, Miss was more important than anyone else. No one would have thought that under such circumstances, this fellow would not only jump out, but also take the initiative to provoke them. Was this fellow's brain damaged? Was he tired of living? He understood these nouveau riches too well. Because he was the same as them. Although they were not evil people, they cared about their reputation. In a moment of anger, they would definitely do anything. He suddenly grinned, revealing 2 rows of snow-white teeth. Too beautiful. The surroundings quietened down. It was the first time in his life that he had personally planned this operation in the dark and saw that his plan was abnormally successful. The young man on the left wearing a light green silk shirt was the eldest son of the Ming family, Zhou Xian. Although the Ming clan was not as illustrious as the Shangguan clan, but it was the evergreen tree of Immortal Constellation Mountain, and there was almost no low tide. The Ming clan was a force to be reckoned with at Immortal Constellation Mountain, and Zhou Xian had long participated in the clan's affairs. She had paid a special visit to the Shangguan family and admired the young miss very much. Tang Tian was a little surprised. They were actually coming for him? He was a little puzzled in his heart. He had just arrived at Rainbow Star, he shouldn't have offended anyone, yet these people actually came looking for him? The Shangguan family was finished this time. He could hear that the entire Shangguan family was in an uproar. The sounds of weapons clashing, footsteps and angry roars could be heard. People were gathering and closing in on him. Tang Tian had practiced the eagle claw before. His fingers were like hooks as he slightly tightened his grip. Looking at Shanghai Qian's pale white face and the cold sweat on his forehead, he knew how bad the situation was. His heart was like an ice field, cold and murderous. His smile was filled with arrogance and sharpness like a knife. Zhou Xian never thought that Tang Tian would actually make a move. He was not prepared at all. His identity was noble, but his power was terrible. Once Tang Tian's murderous aura rushed out, he panicked. Without waiting for him to react, his neck was grabbed by Tang Tian. Shangguan Qian's amiable face became stern and solemn, but there was a hint of gentleness in the depths of his eyes. I haven't been so angry in a long time. No one would have thought that everyone was still in a state of shock from Tang Tian's provocation. Tang Tian did not know that as his fighting experience gradually increased, once he was moved, a strong murderous aura would uncontrollably spread out. Uncle Qian was shocked by Tang Tian's murderous aura. Although Tang Tian was a delinquent super school bully, and his performance was very fierce, Tang Tian did not have any murderous aura at that time. Almost instantly he appeared beside Zhou Xian without warning. Tang Tian listened for a while and understood what these people meant. Yuniao stepped forward and bowed and said loudly, "Uncle Qian, we are here to see the so-called son-in-law of the Shangguan family. Miss Qian Hui is the most respected person in this nephew's heart, and not just anyone can match up to Miss Qian Hui. Miss Old Qian will always defend you." Tang Tian spat out these words, and the sneer on the corner of his mouth turned into a ferocious smile. Soon Tang Tian and Shangguan Qian came to the door with Shangguan Wei and the others. Too arrogant. The 2 attendants suddenly realized that the young master was in the hands of the other party, and quickly withdrew their true power. The 2 of them groaned and suffered slight internal injuries. The people were so scared that their faces turned pale, and then realized what had just happened. Where is that bastard Tang Tian? Come out if you have the guts. The Shangguan family's door was tightly surrounded. Tang Tian made a move. Tang Tian saw so many people and his eyes narrowed. Troublemakers? But it's very useful. The mustached man said disapprovingly, this is enough. These people all had extraordinary backgrounds. A toad lusting for swan meat. Miss Chia is like a fairy. I don't believe there is anyone in this world who is worthy of her. Tang Tian's sudden move was out of everyone's expectations. To them, Tang Tian standing out was already stupid enough to take the initiative to make a move on them. 2 steps away, the seemingly frivolous young man with a head of fiery red short hair was the second son of the Huiyan family, Huiyan Guang, who had a fiery temper, was doted on by the Huiyan old grandmother and had always been lawless. The Huiyan family was one of the oldest families in Immortal Constellation Mountain, and had deep roots. He saw that there were a few playboy who were close to Zhou Xian, and had already sent servants to report to the Ming family. The 2 attendants were shocked and 2 rays of sharp fist auras whistled behind them. Tang Tian's move was asking for his own death. Looking around, almost all the families of Immortal Constellation Mountain with a bit of history were all here. Such a strong lineup, Uncle Qian's heart jumped. Many of the families were not even in Rainbow City. Chu family, Hao family, Shen family, Qi family. The 2 attendants by Junikiko's side were the first to react. The 2 of them seemed to have awoken from a dream, their faces changed, they shouted and wanted to block Tang Tian. I don't like this kind of person. A tall person shook his head. No one was clearer than him about Tang Tian's importance to Missy. In Missy's world, Tang Tian was the only ray of light in the darkness. Uncle Qian was also stunned, but he quickly composed himself. I wonder why you are looking for my son-in-law? Shanghai Wei and Shangguan Zhu, who were panting heavily, brought a group of Shangguan disciples and rushed out with killing intent. If they were to be defeated by Tang Tian today, to them, it would undoubtedly be a great humiliation. They felt that they had the advantage in numbers and had the absolute advantage in power. Just now it was just a sneak attack by Tang Tian and they were not prepared. A tall person sighed. Tang Tian is in trouble. Tang Tian's hand was clutching Zhou Xian's throat, his figure rose and fell a few times, and like a bolt of lightning he flew far away. But when Uncle Qian's gaze swept across this group of people, his heart sank and gave birth to an ominous premonition. If Tang Tian had lowered his head, these people would have vented their anger, and the possibility of letting him go was very high. But now Tang Tian had offended everyone and even threatened Zhou Xian. The nature of the matter had changed. Yuzawa does have some ability. The mustached man laughed. The crowd was enraged, all kinds of curses were heard, everyone's face was indescribably excited. Uncle Qian. All of you beat him to death. If you want to marry Miss Chia, you have to ask for my permission first. Who knew that Tang Tian seemed to have guessed it long ago? His body swayed like a pendulum, leaving 2 afterimages like a loach. He slipped in between 2 attendants and slipped in. Seeing the increasingly turbulent emotions, this group of people was like a barrel of gunpowder. As long as there was a spark, it would explode. Hiding in the crowd, Yuzawa was full of pride. Especially when he saw the panic in the eyes of the Shangguan clan's disciples. He was so excited that he almost moaned. The Shangguan clan had gathered a total of more than 200 people. These 200 people, although there were no strong martial artists, but there were many of them, and these servants and attendants by Playboy's side were all rather strong. And the Shangguan clan did not dare to make a move on these Playboy. Once they offended all these clans, there would be no place for the Shangguan clan in Immortal Constellation Mountain. Huiyan Guang snorted coldly. Stop pretending. Which one is Tang Tian? Son-in-law? Zhou Xian interrupted at this time. His tone was full of unfriendliness. I want to be able to become Miss Chia's husband. What kind of person is he? But the blood in his body at this time was boiling hot. It could melt steel. His eyes were like a wilderness burning with raging flames. Those angry and agitated curses, word by word, clearly passed into his ears. Tang Tian, you're dead meat. Yuzawa's face revealed a look of surprise. He was so excited that he almost screamed out. There's a conspiracy. But Uncle Qian was no longer the Uncle Qian from 2 years ago. His face did not change. He forced himself to calm down and said calmly, "Gentlemen, why are you all gathered in front of my Shangguan clan?" A group of people whistled as they chased after Tang Tian in front of them. "Let me ask first." Uncle Qian hurriedly stopped Tang Tian, not knowing why. He felt that the current Tang Tian was filled with an inexplicable sense of danger. Uncle Qian's heart calmed down, all the hesitation and fear disappeared. "Damn, this is absolutely intolerable. Want to escape? No way. You're simply tired of living." Uncle Qian's eyes flashed a trace of sternness. He took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Call all the disciples in the martial arts arena." On the rooftops far away, people could be seen watching the commotion from afar. Among the crowd, a tall person and the mustache man were mixed in. Almost instantly, Uncle Qian understood that someone was secretly playing tricks. But the other party had the ability to gather almost the entire power of Immortal constellation. Uncle Qian's heart could not help but tremble. These families, the combined power, even if Miss was here, it was impossible to contend against. Jun Akiko suddenly felt pain in his throat and immediately screamed. "Chase! Kill him!" Chapter 111. His speed was extremely fast. Although the soaring boots of the pony was not as strong as the blue peacock, it was still a bronze treasure. With the activation of Tang Tian's silver martial spirit, the true power of the soaring boots of the pony could be unleashed. The guard turned pale with fright, but before he could react, he lost sight of the opponent. "Good terrain." The confidence in Tang Tian's tone did not seem to be a bluff, but Jun Akiko floated in the air. At that moment he was so ashamed that he wanted to die. Feeling the heat wave engulfing his back, Tang Tian's eyes flashed with a cold light. "You bunch of bastards, very soon, you will know the taste of a young man's anger. Go and die." The crowd surged towards the lamppost like a tide. The impact of this scene on them was unparalleled. But for some reason he couldn't laugh. His mouth couldn't make any sound. His eyes even seemed to lose focus. The figure of the youth on the lamppost couldn't be said to be majestic or strong, but it seemed to emit a kind of power that could frighten one's soul. Jun Akiko had never suffered such humiliation before. His eyes were spitting fire, but he knew that no matter what he said it would be useless. He was silent, his face was green. Separated by the guard, the tip of his foot quietly hit Playboy who was behind and released his energy. Jun Akiko heard this and was stunned. He almost thought that he heard wrong. Was this guy's brain really caught in the door? Could he not understand the situation? Did he not know he had already offended all the powerful families in Immortal Constellation Mountain? Did he not know he did not have the slightest chance of winning? Did he not know even if it was Jia Shangguan he would definitely not dare to do such a thing? Looking at the rapidly surging crowd, he opened his arms and with a step like a big bird he dived down towards the crowd. On the tall lamppost, the young man's unruly figure against the light seemed to be embedded in the sun. Jun Akiko, who was being held by Tang Tian's arm, suppressed the panic in his heart and pretended to be calm. "You can't escape. Give up." "Escape?" A cold laugh came from above his head, carrying with it a cold killing intent. "Do you think I'm running away?" Tang Tian's figure suddenly stopped. His figure flashed and appeared beside the luxuriously dressed Playboy. The incomparably fast moon hand blade made the two guards feel a cold glint in their eyes. They turned pale with fright and hurriedly raised their palms to block. Jun Akiko clenched his teeth and swore in his heart, but when he caught a glimpse of other people pouring into the square from the corner of his eye, all his vows were thrown out the window. His face was so red that it seemed like it could ooze blood, and he wished he could find a hole to hide in. For small hooves like a powerful spring full of power came from under the feet. Tang Tian was like an arrow leaving the bow, the wind whistling past his ears. Just as he was about to open his mouth to stop them, he was blown away by the strong wind, unable to speak. Why was this guy so confident? Playboy let out a blood-curdling scream as he was sent flying like a sandbag, as if he had been rammed by a rhino. "You can't." He had never lost face like this. Never. Rank 5 Fire Python Fist Killing Technique. Fire Python Swallowing Kill. In one move the opponent would either collapse upon contact or suffer a loss. Hui Yenguang raised his fist. The red flames on his fist exploded, like a huge python opening its bloody mouth. The air crackled and exploded, bringing with it an extremely high temperature with a loud rumble. Aoi Yuzawa did not know how to describe this power. His mouth floated a gentle smile, warm and gentle but firm as steel. The people that rushed into the square could not help but slow down their footsteps. They were stunned by the scene in front of them. Tang Tian felt as if he had returned to the chamber of the 18 bronze figures. It was extremely familiar. His 6 times intuition was displayed to the fullest. Rank 5 true power allowed him to lift something heavy as though it was light. Close combat was Tang Tian's most proficient fighting style. The variety of martial techniques allowed him to find the most suitable martial technique no matter what situation he was in. Jun Akiko stared blankly at Tang Tian, who knew where he pulled out a rope and nimbly tied him up. The whistling gale blew, causing Jun Akiko to be unable to open his eyes, but his heart was filled with doubt and puzzlement. Tang Tian's words carried an incomparably strong self-confidence, as though this matter to him was an extremely simple matter. At this moment he should be laughing maniacally. The result of this plan was far more outstanding and effective than he had expected. They opened their mouths wide, but were unable to make any sound. Their disbelieving gazes were unable to move away from the untamed figures. The young man on the lamppost seemed to have some sort of mysterious magical power. Awa Yuzawa was also in a daze. He had thought of countless possibilities, but none of them matched the scene in front of him. Because he did not believe that anyone would be so stupid, to the point of challenging the bottom line of all the clans. The strength of these people compared to the 18 bronze men was far from it. Although the number of people had increased, Tang Tian actually did not have the slightest bit of strength. His gaze was fixated on the playboy. Tang Tian, who was against the light, had his face shrouded in the shadows. His expression on his face could not be seen clearly. Only the arc at the corner of his mouth was suddenly cold. Chia was Tang Tian's reverse scale, a scale that no one could touch. This idiot actually stopped here. Maybe time has passed, maybe we have already started to grow up, but the promise that the young man made that year was still ringing in our ears. The whistling gale disappeared. Jun Akiko was stunned, not escaping. Thing is, everyone seemed to have awoken from a dream. With concealed weapons in their hands, they shot towards Tang Tian, who was rapidly falling from the sky. In a moment the concealed weapons were like rain whistling through the air. He had long decided not to let a single one of them go. Where is he? Someone subconsciously exclaimed. Jun Akiko's bodyguard angrily shouted, causing everyone to wake up from their dream. The entire square immediately exploded. Everyone started cursing and swearing. Even Yuni Yao, a person with good self-restraint, was also enraged. Looking at Jun Akiko, who was suspended high up in the sky, he could empathize with him. But that fellow was so arrogant to the point that they did not dare to laugh at him. Suddenly, a force came from the arm that was clamping him, causing him to almost scream, but his pride was strong. He endured the pain and did not make a sound. The shouts from the playboy had long angered him. Tang Tian had just stabilized his body when a roar came from behind him. His eyes were blazing, the wind whistled past his ears like knives, but his heart was strangely calm. Asshole, I will definitely not let you off. Everyone was dumbfounded. Anyone. Anything. I will definitely dismember your body into 10,000 pieces. The figure that was descending like a big bird was like a shooting star crashing down towards them. Jun Akiko could not understand even if he racked his brain, but he had been in contact with the family matters for a long time, and his horizons were much wider than his peers. Wait a minute. Tang Tian did not care about Jun Akiko. Using his hands and feet, he climbed up the lamppost and then he placed Jun Akiko, who was tied up like a palm, down. The other end of the rope was tied to the lamppost. What was even more out of everyone's expectations was that his true power actually contained 2 different types of energy chi. Peacock. 6 times intuition. The young lad was very brave and was not afraid at all. Yuni Yao and the rest looked at each other. All of them could see the anger in each other's eyes. This was truly a common enemy. Tang Tian skillfully tied the last butterfly knot, and then raised his head to look at the tall lamppost. Relax all of you, I will not let any of you off. In the next moment, screams came out from the crowd. A blue figure like a tiger in a flock of sheep. Everywhere he passed, screams would follow. It was as though he was trying his best to tell himself the young lad on the lamppost was too arrogant. Tang Tian's hand blade suddenly became like a soft rope, touching the opponent's palm, borrowing the opponent's strength. His body swayed. This rascal. What is he trying to do? Jun Akiko opened his eyes in a daze. The surrounding terrain was wide open. He was stunned, but his eyes suddenly lit up. His heart was in ecstasy. It was a plaza. Kill him. Hu Yenguang was the first to roar. Staining Fall's leverage. Since when they who were of noble statuses would suffer such humiliation? The dense crowd became extremely chaotic, but Tang Tian was as agile as a blue fish. Based on what? Young lad Tang was not a broad-minded person. He was the one who held grudges. It was as though he could see, under the starry night sky on top of the rock, the young lady smiling sweetly, the young lad ignorant and foolish, his tender and soft fingers hooked onto the calloused and rough fingers, making a childish and innocent vow. Go! Yun Yao ordered without hesitation. Everywhere he passed, people were thrown off their feet. It became even more chaotic. In such a chaotic battle, concealed weapons could not be used at all. He would not allow anyone to meddle with the relationship between him and Xia. Running with all his might, Tang Tian's calm voice did not tremble in the howling wind. It was exceptionally clear. A clear shout came out from the sky above him. Everyone only saw a blue afterimage flash in their field of vision and then disappear. At this time he had already determined that Tang Tian was a brave but not astute person. Such an idiot actually stopped in such an unfavorable terrain. Such an open terrain was suitable for them to display their advantage in numbers. Jun Akiko suddenly had a bad premonition. Unfortunately, before he could react, he felt like he was riding on the clouds. He somewhat guessed what Tang Tian wanted to do and his face turned white. Yes, arrogant. The Ming family will not let you go. The crowd gasped, but Yun Yao's voice came out from the crowd. Use concealed weapons. Just like playing on a swing, Tang Tian's toes stealthily touched the ground. Tang Tian, you're dead. The sounds of pursuit and roars behind him, Tang Tian did not hear them. The curve of his lips was as sharp as a blade. His squinted eyes carried the coldness of a wild beast. The young lad still remembered. The young lad was stronger than before. A long rope hung from the top of the lamppost. The esteemed eldest son of the Ming family was now tied up like a meat cake floating in the air. The blue peacock armor made Tang Tian's fighting style even more ferocious, his figure even more ghostly. The large square was so quiet that a pin drop could be heard. Chapter 112. The transparent barrier on Tang Tian's fist was immediately broken, and the surrounding air was immediately pulled into countless of sharp air currents, crazily surging towards Tang Tian's fist. How is that possible? The sharp energy caused sparks to fly out from the blue peacock armor on his chest. His vision turned black and he fainted. A clear and crisp sound like a firecracker suddenly sounded out. Hu Yenguang's heart was in shock. Although the consecutive double kick was not a good technique, but he still had some understanding. It was a perfect chain of 2 kicks. Every second he could send out 4 kicks. But he was still half a step too slow and missed. Pop! The dazzling red fist flames fluttered. Like a fire python that was a few meters long, it suddenly shot up, opening its bloody mouth wanting to swallow someone. The fist flame python was like a sieve, trembling violently. Tang Tian acted as though nothing had happened. The moment he landed, he bent his knees and like a cannonball he rushed towards Hu Yenguang, who was surrounded by the fire python. The blue light came without any warning. Hu Yenguang seemed to have awoken from his dream. He immediately understood Tang Tian's intention and was enraged. Both his legs fiercely stomping on the ground, he soared into the sky and punched towards the peacock in the sky. Suddenly Hu Yenguang's pupils congealed. Tang Tian's fist had an additional transparent ball of light. Seeing the rapidly expanding fire python, Tang Tian's eyes reflected the sea of flames in his eyes. I've been waiting for you. Cries of alarm could be heard from the crowd, and the guards all flew towards their young master who had been sent flying. Like a string of firecrackers, the clear and crisp sound of the firecrackers exploding was so concentrated that it made people unable to breathe. Wave after wave of true power with an astonishing frequency suddenly rushed over. Pa. The blue peacock quietly appeared on his shoulder, its bright red feathers lightly trembling. The 10 pieces of blue armor on Tang Tian's body suddenly shot out. They flew close to the ground. Their speed was as fast as lightning, yet they were silent. The fist flame that enveloped his fist transformed into the head of a small fire python that wanted to devour people. Although it was a size smaller, it was more solid. The curled-up tail of the fire python was like a huge whip as it suddenly lashed out. Idiot! No matter how powerful Xianxia was, how could he go against the entire Immortal Constellation Mountain? A blurry blue figure suddenly blocked the fire python's momentum. Aoi Yuzawa originally thought that victory was in his grasp, so he rushed forward excitedly. Who would have thought that Tang Tian would suddenly turn around and attack him? He was so scared that his face turned pale. He turned around and wanted to escape. The crowd cried out in alarm. Hu Yenguang was usually arrogant and despotic. He was not as praised as Junikiko and Yuniao. However, when he made his move, everyone was shocked. The Fire Python Fist was one of the secret martial techniques of the Hu clan. It was suitable for martial artists with fire affinity true power to train. Rank 5 martial techniques to train a killing technique. Not only did it require outstanding talent, it also required a lot of time. Hu Yenguang was stunned for a moment. He actually forgot to attack. He stared at the blue figure disappearing from his field of vision. What a weird true power. Once Hu Yenguang released his killing technique, the momentum was immediately different. Pu-piu-piu. The sharp air current, like an angry arrow, entered the fire python fist flame. Hu Yenguang's gaze was ice cold. The killing intent in his chest was boiling. The power of the fist flame in his hands became even more astonishing. Tang Tian seemed to have predicted it. Borrowing the power from his toes, his body moved horizontally. The tip of the fire python tail brushed past his body. Consecutive double kicks. Go and die. Hu Yenguang's gaze turned cold. His left fist that was hidden in the shadows suddenly spat out. Everyone who witnessed this scene were all scared out of their wits. One of the guards who bore the brunt of the attack turned pale. In a panic, the steel blade in his hand slashed horizontally. Young master. The young masters who were entangled by the ropes were brought to the sky by the peacock. The peacock's body did not look big, but its power was surprisingly strong. It flapped its wings and flew quickly towards the lamppost. Although he had seen Tang Tian's bravery, Hu Yenguang was already mentally prepared for a fierce battle. But when he truly fought with him, the pressure was still beyond his expectations. Hu Yenguang forcefully stabilized his true power. He prepared to dissolve the true power. But the true power that entered his fist suddenly exploded. Tang Tian, who was rushing towards him, did not have any intention of dodging. He brazenly made his move. Concussion fist. Hu Yenguang's temper was unyielding. How could he be the one to suffer? Enduring the stuffiness in his chest, he snorted. Flipping his right elbow, he suddenly struck horizontally. Not to mention that Junikiko would owe him a huge favor, his reputation would also soar to the peak. The only thing to worry about was Chia Shanghai's return. But if he could defeat Tang Tian at this moment and save Junikiko, Tang Tian's palm looked like it was gently patting the guard's blade. Poof! Tang Tian's body was like lightning flying past the crowd. In the exchange just now, Tang Tian was testing the waters. After exchanging blows, Tang Tian knew that Hu Yenguang was a tough nut to crack. He decided to leave this tough nut to crack for last. So he purposely used the crane body energy first, then the heavenly dragon energy. The explosive heavenly dragon energy allowed him to easily break away from the opponent. A sharp whistling sound came out without warning, like an owl crying in the forest. The explosion of true power was even more sudden. Hu Yenguang was not prepared at all. But in the next second his face changed. Hu Yenguang's reaction was extremely fast. Withdrawing his elbow, his body shrunk. The fire python's body coiled into a ball, protecting him in the middle. In everyone's eyes, Hu Yenguang was a typical hedonistic young master. No one would have thought that he would actually be willing to spend so much effort on this. Borrowing the strength of Hu Yenguang's fist, Tang Tian arched his back, and like a ray of blue lightning he rushed into the oncoming crowd. Fire Python Fist. The fist flame was like a python, overbearing but not lacking in nimbleness. It was a rank 5 martial technique of the highest quality. Tang Tian's true power actually contained 2 different types of energy. Tang Tian's body was suspended in midair. His legs were so fast that it was hard for people to see them clearly. Every time he kicked, his toes would light up a conical halo. Even now, the fire in his eyes was still burning and flickering. The fire python's head was raised high, waiting for an opportunity to move. A strong energy was transmitted from the fist. Hu Yenguang's heart trembled. Such a strong power. As expected of a rank 4 martial technique's killing technique. But, to think that such a strong attack could defeat his fire python killing technique, it was just wishful thinking. The fire python's body trembled slightly and dissipated the true power. Hui Yanguang's gaze was cold. He was usually reserved and had never revealed his true strength. He did not expect that the situation would develop to such a stage. But after the situation went out of control, he suddenly realized that it was a great opportunity. But Tang Tian was faster than he thought. Seeing that the guards were about to snatch their young masters, suddenly 10 blue lights shot out from the ground like 10 blue ropes. They wrapped around the young masters who were just thrown out. Hui Yanguang's true power that was stabilized finally collapsed and became a mess. Hui Yanguang felt as though he was in a perilous situation. His ears were filled with the howling of the wind and he was swaying. Fast. It was so fast that he could not react in time and could only react instinctively. But Tang Tian had broken through this limit and was close to 5 kicks per second. The young man raised his fist again. Everywhere he passed, screams could be heard and figures after figures were thrown out. Young master. From the start he had never thought of letting a single person go. Tang Tian bellowed. The Hua family had done a lot of research on this fist technique, passed it down from generation to generation, and left behind the fire python fist spirit cards, all of which were of high quality. Hui Yanguang had spent countless amounts of hard work on this fist technique, and among the Hua family disciples, no one could compare to him. Playboy who had lost his protection turned pale white, his vision blurred and he lost consciousness. But just at this moment suddenly, a sharp energy like an awl, drilled into Hui Yanguang's fist in an instant. Hui Yanguang was caught off guard and his true power almost dissipated. Peacock. The guard was hit hard and spat out a mouthful of blood as though he was hit by a charging rhinoceros. He flew out. Hui Yanguang's fist was filled with anger and the power was terrifying. The fist was like a fiery red python coming out of its hole, bringing with it a terrifying power. It pounced towards the peacock in the sky. But Hui Yanguang suddenly laughed. A rank 4 martial technique killing technique. How could it be a match for a rank 5 martial technique killing technique? A ray of fiery light flashed. What was even more unexpected was, every piece of blue feather armor was tied with an extremely thin rope. Hui Yanguang relaxed. The opponent's energy was not considered strong, and did not pose much of a threat to his fire python fist. Tang Tian's palm was not the crescent hand blade, nor was it the broken shadow palm, but the staining fall, which borrowed strength to strike and contained the power of Hui Yanguang's fire python kill. A terrifying frequency. In a short span of 5 seconds, Hui Yanguang's fire python fist suffered a total of 25 kicks. Vacuum shock. His eyes suddenly twitched and he immediately flicked his wrist, only to see the red fire python in mid-air. The snake body turned and pounced towards the blue figure. Hui Yanguang's face finally changed. This pounce was as fast as lightning. Hui Yanguang's mind congealed. It's here. The power of each kick was not considered strong, but with 25 consecutive kicks stacked together, his face immediately changed. 25 waves of true power in 5 seconds surged even for Hui Yanguang. He also felt his chest tighten. Suddenly, from the corner of his eyes, he saw a blurry blue figure. Not good. Thinking about what Tang Tian had done today, he had already offended all the clans of Immortal Constellation Mountain. Even if Jia Shangguan was back, what could he do? They saw that Hui Yanguang was entangled with Tang Tian, and Hui Yanguang was even using his killing technique, and in their hearts they already felt that the battle was already won. Who knew that Tang Tian actually gave up on Hui Yanguang and rushed straight towards them. All the ropes suddenly became taut. A shadow of a leg appeared in his field of vision without any warning. He did not have time to react, and the leg landed solidly on his face. Hui Yanguang's heart trembled so fast. Everyone only felt a blur in front of them, and the blue figure like a ghost appeared in front of them. This movement of a rabbit and a falcon was shockingly fast. A shadow of a leg struck the fire python fist's snake body. 5 kicks in a second. However, they were fast, but Tang Tian was faster. Without waiting for them to react, the peacock on Tang Tian's shoulder shrieked and rushed to the sky. Everyone was aghast. Tang Tian did not even look at Aoi Yuzawa. He only saw that Aoi Yuzawa was dressed luxuriously, and with one look he knew that he was Playboy. All these Playboy were his targets, and there was no meaning in being entangled with the guards and servants. The transparent vacuum shock and Hu Yinguang's fire python kill collided. Concussion fists killing technique. Chapter 113. At the top of the lamppost, the young lad stood proudly looking down at the world. The two strong forces collided, producing an extremely intense explosion. Tang Tian felt as if an earth-shattering force was crashing towards him. In the air he had no place to borrow strength and could only bend his arm to protect his vital parts. Everything is over. You idiot who overestimated yourself. His intuition at an alarming rate continued to climb. He stared at Tang Tian closely, trying to find out what made him uneasy from Tang Tian's body. Vacuum jolt. The sound of the vacuum balls exploding was not loud, but it was as clear as glass breaking. 5 vacuum balls exploded at the same time. Hu Yenguang's first feeling was not right. He seemed to be reckless, but in reality he was a careful person on the inside. With such a revered status he was willing to work hard to train, yet he hid his ambitions well. He was not as simple as others thought. Within 5 seconds, 5 killing techniques were used consecutively. The true power in Tang Tian's body was completely depleted. Hu Yenguang was shocked. It was only 2 rank 4 martial techniques, how could it have such an effect? But at the moment he did not have time to think. Fire python kill was powerful and the fire python formed from the fist flames was ferocious and overbearing. But because of that, if the fist flames were to lose control, the backlash would be extremely terrifying. Tang Tian's cold silver eyes flashed a look of admiration. The fire python formed from the fist flames extended its huge body. Its speed was extremely fast, bringing along a biting cold blood-red stench. This fist was Hu Yinguang's killing technique that he had prepared for a long time. At the moment Tang Tian was in the air and could not borrow strength. It was impossible for him to block this attack. At the same time, a transparent vacuum ball appeared in the shallow pit. Tyrant's angry finger. It was the hand moon blade. His right palm was like a blade and as fast as lightning he chopped 3 times. 3 rays of cold moonlight auras, like 3 crescent moons, entered the fire python's mouth. But his mouth revealed a smile. The 3 moonbeams entered the fire python's wide-open mouth, but there was no reaction at all. It was as if they had entered a sea of mud. A short 5 seconds. The fire python was getting closer and closer. The heat wave that came charging at him made Tang Tian's eyebrows and hair curl slightly, but Tang Tian seemed to be indifferent. The places where the 5 vacuum spheres were broken were like 5 vortexes. The strong suction force caused all the flames on the fire python's body to surge towards the 5 vortexes. The true power in Tang Tian's body surged to the maximum. The flames in his eyes seemed to be dyed with a layer of silver frost, emitting a cold chi. The chaos of the fist flames immediately caused the true power to become chaotic. Dong. 10 seconds. Poof. Poof. Tang Tian grabbed the unconscious Hu Yenguang. A rope dangled in front of him. It was a peacock. Tang Tian's eyes were stained with a layer of frosty silver, and his silver pupils were cold. Hu Yenguang's expression changed drastically. Was this guy a fool? For this tyrant's angry finger, Tang Tian had infused the heavenly dragon energy. The power of the 3 moonlight auras was not strong, but the location was extremely clever. The fist flames that were struck actually created a small area of chaos. Tang Tian was like a leaf forcefully pushed 7 to 8 meters away by the chi wave. The world seemed to have quietened down and everything around him became clearer and clearer. Tang Tian did not evade at all, his silver pupils staring straight at the snake pupils. The peacock flapped its wings above his head. Tang Tian's armor not only was it incomplete, its luster had dimmed by a lot. He took a deep breath, grabbed onto the rope and soared into the air. The true power in his body was like a manic python twisting its body with all its might, causing his meridians to be in intense pain. This guy is dead for sure. The fist flames formed by the release of true power, the threads of true power, gathered the fist flames together as if it was his own arm and finger. The oppressive explosion was like a heavy drum, beating in Hu Yenguang's heart. Not good. The temperature of the fire python kill's fist flames was extremely high. It could melt iron and copper, but what was truly fatal was the twisting force in the fist flames. The vacuum ball formed by the vibration once again shattered, pulling in the air like an angry arrow into the fire python kill. The true power in Hui Yenguang's body, which was already somewhat manic, was completely out of control. Hui Yenguang's meridians were in intense pain, his throat was sweet, he spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Hui Yenguang firmly locked onto Tang Tian, who was unable to stabilize himself in the air, and a sinister smile appeared on his face. This guy, what is he trying to do? Just when everyone thought that Tang Tian could not escape, Tang Tian suddenly moved. Hui Yenguang suddenly quivered, his face changed, he finally understood why he was feeling uneasy. Tang Tian appeared too calm without the slightest bit of panic, as if he was not threatened at all. Hui Yenguang's uneasiness in his heart became even stronger. Vacuum jolt against fire python kill. The silver martial spirit flame in his body seemed to have sensed the danger and silently surged. Fire python kill could even kill bears, tigers and other strong wild beasts. A wretched figure came out from the fire python. Behind him, the fire python had already collapsed into a fireball and loudly exploded. The red light beam immediately exploded. But at this time Hui Yenguang's smile suddenly froze. It was not vacuum jolt. His vision was quickly occupied by the red fist flames. The surrounding temperature rapidly rose. Tang Tian felt as if he was in a big furnace. The biting cold killing intent like needles wrapped around him. And in his left hand a red light beam shot out. The fire python came closer and closer. It opened its bloody mouth, the cold snake eyes staring at Tang Tian. His body suddenly moved. An indescribable feeling filled his entire body. This world. Once entangled by the fire python kill, he would definitely die. 7 times, 8 times, 9 times. You are indeed very strong, but how can I admit defeat? Suddenly he noticed Tang Tian's expression and could not help but be startled. If not for Tang Tian's crane body energy and heavenly dragon energy, if not for his armor, Hui Yenguang would have already won with an overwhelming advantage. But Hui Yenguang's heart gave birth to a strong sense of danger. The reason why this rascal could block his fire python kill was because he relied on his strange true power. Tang Tian's movements were as fast as lightning. Without hesitation or thinking, he attacked with both hands. Hui Yenguang cursed in his heart, but when he saw Tang Tian being engulfed by the fist flames, the stone in his heart finally dropped, and his face revealed a look of ecstasy. Tang Tian's counterattack was sharp, but he was too close to the fire python, so close that he had no time to dodge. A dazzling fireball rose from the fire python's mouth, and the fire python's head suddenly shot up from the explosion. Yet another fire python pounced from below with a menacing aura. Knowing that Tang Tian's true power was strange, Hui Yenguang learned from his previous experience, and this time he specially set up multiple layers of true power, blocking Tang Tian's strange true power. Other than the 18 bronze figures, Tang Tian had not been forced into such a difficult situation for a long time. Although Hui Yenguang's true power was also at the 5th level, it was at the higher stage of the 5th level, and Tang Tian had just broken through to the 5th level, and was only at the lower stage of the 5th level. In terms of martial techniques, Hui Yenguang was stronger than him. His concussion fist was only at the 4th level, and its killing move power was similar to a 5th level martial technique. And Hui Yenguang's fire python fist was a 5th level martial technique, and its killing move, fire python kill, was comparable to a 6th level martial technique. Damn it! The charred Tang Tian carried Hui Yenguang and stepped onto the top of the lamppost. Under his feet, the fireball suddenly exploded, transforming into countless small flames, like raindrops sprinkling down, floating down. Boom! The red flames reflected Tang Tian's face. They were like magma, sticking close to Tang Tian's body. Tang Tian was surrounded by a layer of invisible qi, which was the armor's protection. But the speed of the qi was quickly depleted, and the feathered armor on Tang Tian's body started to crack. His left finger pointed in front of him, and the overlord's angry finger carried a sharp crane energy like a pickaxe. It chiseled a shallow hole in the flames in front of him. 10 times. The fire python's gigantic body froze. The flames enveloped by the qi contained an astonishing strangling power, making him feel as if he was in a strangling swamp and was unable to move. The strangling power was like an invisible rope, continuously entangling Tang Tian's body. The two attacks seemed to be released at the same time, but in reality, there was an extremely short time difference. But the overlord's angry finger was too fast for the eyes to take in. A thunderous roar sounded in his ears. Tang Tian felt his entire body tremble. The world around him suddenly became extremely clear, and every detail could be seen clearly. This sense of danger was so sudden, so inexplicable. Hui Yanguang racked his brains, but could not think of any method that Tang Tian could use to make a comeback. Tang Tian's true power, martial techniques, were all understood by him. Tang Tian had already embedded 5 vacuum balls in the surrounding flames. The moment the chi collided, Tang Tian's throat had a trace of blood, and he could not help but groan. Peacock left, the armor was incomplete regardless of power or defense, it was greatly reduced. Looking at the flaming fist fire python that was charging towards him, Tang Tian suddenly grinned. The intense sense of danger made Tang Tian exceptionally focused. His state of mind, in an extremely short period of time, suddenly became calm, so calm that there was not a single ripple like a silver mirror. Hui Yanguang only felt that the flames from the true power were almost out of control. But the incomplete peacock armor could only provide him with 10 seconds of protection. On Tang Tian's face there was actually a smile. It was an outstanding composition. But the fire python's body showed an undetectable sluggishness, followed by the overlord's angry finger, one finger pointing at the center of the 3 moonlight symbols. The fire python had already rushed in front of Tang Tian such a short distance, Tang Tian did not even have the possibility of dodging. It was unprecedentedly clear, so clear that he could feel the changes in the air around his body. They were in a complicated, seemingly chaotic way, surging and colliding. Tang Tian even had a premonition that in the future, when his strength became stronger, these small, seemingly harmless air currents could all be used by him. The pervasive high temperature and twisting force did not disturb Tang Tian. The enormous and surging fire python's flames became exceptionally clear in his heart. Chapter 114. They were all too familiar with this lamppost. It was actually a small lighthouse, planted in the center of the plaza, and provided light to the entire plaza at night. Almost at the same time, 3 other long whistles sounded from 3 other directions, echoing from afar. On the lamppost, there were many figures hanging, and every one of them was a famous playboy from the Immortal Constellation Mountain. The usually arrogant young masters were now like chickens and ducks waiting to be slaughtered, floating in the air. Unknowingly, in another direction on top of a roof, a smiling guy stood there. But now, they looked at the ropes hanging from the lamppost and the figures hanging from the ropes. But the power of the blood meridians? Despicable. They were stunned, completely stunned. Sima Xianxia chuckled. Of course not. But at this stage Shanghai Qian felt at ease. This feud was set in stone. The scene. Suddenly a group of people rushed over. It was Uncle Qian leading Shanghai Wei's disciples. This was the first time she saw such a dazzling battle quality in such a young lad. He was at a disadvantage in terms of strength, but he was able to win. This young lad was not simple. That's terrible. A ghostly voice came from another direction. The voice was soft, but everyone could hear it. If she did not see it with her own eyes, she would never believe it. And she knew her brother could not see Tang Tian's silver martial spirit. That meant Tang Tian should have cultivated the silver martial spirit during this period of time. Shanghai Qian felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar, and the group of guards immediately cheered. These 4 were all famous experts of the Immortal Constellation Mountain, and their strength was profound. Just one of them was enough to move people, and now that all 4 of them were here, aha, that's great. Fundamental Tang is in the limelight. I can't tarnish his reputation as a lively martial man. I want to let Fundamental Tang see how strong a man can be worthy of such a resounding name as the lively martial man. A Maori raised his arms high, his expression excited. A Maori who had just crawled out was covered in dirt. He widened his bell-like eyes and glared angrily at his surroundings. He looked indescribably funny. However, no one could laugh. His bull-like body and terrifying impact were too ferocious. It's rare to see our ice beauty so impatient. Sima Xiangxian's voice was like drifting smoke. The others also rushed out without saying a word. Fierce, calm, tenacious. It seems to be a fierce battle. The experienced and prudent Liang Qiu looked solemn. It was a martial spirit, a silver martial spirit. Everyone shivered and their expressions changed. An expert. The guards who had seen hope were now completely dumbfounded. The The peacock returned to the armor, and only then did Tang Tian feel a chill from the armor. Tang Tian laughed bitterly in his heart. This time the peacock would need a period of time to recover. Ming Yong, Yun Di, Hui Yan Shan, Eugene Hong. What are you looking at? If anyone is dishonest, I'll cut their young master's body with a knife. Don't worry, although I have never trained in blade techniques, but my technique is not bad. Young man Tang was not someone who was easy to talk to. Wasn't this guy at the big tomb outer camp? Why did he come out? You better not provoke him. Liang Qiu warned Sima Xiangshan. Luckily the loot was plentiful. As expected, everyone's gaze turned to them. All of these gazes were filled with anger. Many of them were ready to make a move. Kang Yu could tell that something was amiss. Without batting an eyelid she said, "Seems like there's more to it than meets the eye." Kang Yu's appearance was beautiful and had a mature charm. She only had light makeup on her face and was dressed in a plain white dress, which made her look even more beautiful, like a fairy. A figure flew across the sky like a shooting star and landed on a house. Kang Yu was surprised, but her subordinates were even more surprised. At that time, because of Kang Yulin, they threw Tang Tian to the big tomb outer camp and did not care about him anymore. No one thought that they would actually see Tang Tian here again. Uncle Qian almost stumbled. "Young Master Tian, are you afraid that others did not notice?" Tang Tian's current appearance was definitely considered battered and exhausted. His entire body was covered in smoke and fire. The luxurious peacock armor had already become unrecognizable. Tang Tian's face darkened. In the battle with Hui Yanguang, his true power was greatly depleted. But Hui Yanguang's light was completely blocked by the young man on the lamppost. Shameless. The people below were even more furious. Who would have thought that this beautiful and dignified beauty was actually the Honorable Martial Alliance Branch Minister of Immortal Constellation Mountain? Their faces were filled with bewilderment. Treacherous villain. Is Fundamental Tang not handsome enough? Amauri opened his eyes wide in astonishment. Why do I feel that he is very handsome? Compared to the lively martial men, he is just a little lacking. The figure directly pierced through the roof, causing the earth to shake. The house suddenly collapsed and dust filled the air. After a while, a huge figure struggled to climb up from inside. Han Bingning turned his face. "Do you mind?" One of them shouted sternly, "Tang Tian, if you dare to touch a single hair of young master, you are dead." His subordinate quivered and immediately replied, "Yes. The few of them are all from Star Wind City." On the roofs of the houses in the distance, one by one agile figures quickly approached the plaza. "Tang Tian, leave it to us. Too naive." As for the body, it was definitely perfect, slender and well-proportioned, with perfect proportions without a trace of excess fat. A blurry green figure with astonishing speed was approaching them. Who is this person? Kang Yu's face flashed a look of surprise as she looked towards the lamppost. Just at this moment, a duck-like howl suddenly appeared in the air. The voice was extremely loud and actually suppressed the 4 long howls. Tang Tian's expression changed as he looked towards the direction of the voice. Deep in her calm eyes, there seemed to be something flickering. This trace of killing intent was quickly suppressed by her, as her attention once again landed on Tang Tian. Suddenly, a long howl came from afar. The chi in the meridians was long, one look and one could tell that it was a person with profound true power. Hui Yanguang's strength had already surprised her. At such a young age he had already reached the 5th level, and was able to comprehend the killing technique of a 5th-level martial technique. Hui Yanguang's talent and hard work were extremely outstanding. This fellow, wherever he goes, he always causes a commotion. Liang Qiu looked at Tang Tian, who was on the lamppost, and sighed with admiration. They had personally witnessed how Tang Tian grew from an ultimate retainer to where he was today and felt even more deeply. 2 bodyguards immediately rushed out from the crowd below. Their faces were slightly pale. Dong. Han Bingning's sword was unsheathed and the surrounding temperature dropped. In the midst of the commotion, Shanghai Wei and the rest all felt the pressure as they wiped off their cold sweat and took the opportunity to get closer to Tang Tian. But when they panted and ran to the plaza, they were stunned by the scene in front of them. Their gazes seemed to be glued to the lamppost and could not be moved away, and their footsteps stopped involuntarily. Amauri's face was like a well-behaved baby as he distanced himself from Han Bingning. Once the Ice Mountain beauty Amauri flared up, Even a Maori who loved to fight would not be able to avoid it. She would draw her sword without a word and every strike would be fatal. More importantly, although her temperament was cold, she was unusually unyielding. Once she was angered, she would definitely not rest until one of them died. If you have the ability, then fight with real swords and spears. What kind of hero are you? Tang Tian noticed that Uncle Qian and the rest had rushed over, raised his arm and shouted, "Over here." Kang Yu did not speak. Her gaze landed on Tang Tian on the lamppost and became more interested. To be able to catch her brother's eye, and even bring him to Immortal Constellation Mountain, this fellow must have something special. She was very clear that her brother, who had just been killed, had a rather good eye for people. "Let's go." Han Bingning's eyes drooped. Without any change in expression, her left hand holding onto her sword, she bent down, exerted strength in her legs, and like an arrow leaving the bow, she rushed out. She was equally bewildered. She could see that Tang Tian had just stepped into the 5th level not long ago, and was able to cultivate a silver martial spirit at the 5th level. Sima Xianxia chuckled but kept his mouth shut. "Hey, wait a minute. You really don't need to care about our branch minister?" Sima Xianxia said faintly. "Cough cough. Whose voice is louder than mine?" "They're here." Han Bingning's expression was ice cold. "Get ready to move." Kang Yu secretly shook her head. Tang Tian's battle tactics were obviously not the same as Onyx Soul's. Although they were separated by a distance, her eyesight was astonishing and she saw the battle clearly. A lady snorted and the temperature of the entire square suddenly dropped. Everyone was aghast and turned to look, only to see a lady like an ice mountain with her eyebrows lowered, holding onto her sword, surrounded by killing intent. "But it's a pity you're not handsome enough," Sima Xianxia faintly added. His strength was actually so valiant. 4 figures flew quickly across the rooftops. Liang Qiu's indifferent voice was filled with confidence. His feet on the pointed loft, his body did not move an inch. But when he grinned foolishly, his eyes liked to widen, an indescribable sense of humor. When the subordinates heard this, their mouths became dry. The minister's mind was unpredictable, temperamental. When he looked calm, it was usually the precursor to an explosion. He didn't dare to hide anything and told her everything that had happened. Kang Yu listened quietly. Her expression did not change. The scolding from the square was incessant, but Tang Tian ignored it, bent down and casually pulled up a rope. The rope was tied to Playboy. He did not know. What exactly is going on? Thinking of her brother, a trace of killing intent flashed past her eyes. She will definitely find the murderer who killed her brother. Shengguan Qian swallowed his saliva with difficulty. It was not that he had not seen the world before. When Miss was around, her thunderous methods often made him gasp in surprise. But now, compared to Tang Tian, he suddenly felt that, compared to young Master Tian, Mrs. methods were much gentler. The crowd instantly scolded. All of them wanted to tear Tang Tian alive. But Tang Tian's move was indeed effective. No one dared to touch Uncle Qian and the rest. "You think he's handsome, that's enough to prove the problem," Sima Xianxia faintly added. Everyone was stunned. Voila. Ah! Tang Tian's complacent voice could be heard clearly in the square. The situation was not good. The subordinates lowered their heads, not daring to breathe loudly, cold sweat dripping down. But what shocked her even more was the unfamiliar young man who defeated Hu Yanguang. After all, she had been stationed at Immortal Constellation Mountain for many years, and knew a thing or two about the youths of Immortal Constellation Mountain. Another person shouted loudly, "Tang Tian, what conditions do you have? State them. Don't fall into a hopeless situation." Suddenly she saw a Maori and the rest, thought of something and asked, "You said he came with a Maori and the rest?" "Wow, you guys are right." Tang Tian put his hands on his waist and laughed to the sky. Humph. The guards below all wanted to go forward, but were afraid that Tang Tian would take the opportunity to harm their own young master. Tang Tian was extremely pleased, but thinking about how this bunch of people actually dared to point fingers at him and Chia, Tang Tian's face darkened. The group of guards suddenly narrowed their eyes. Another expert. Tang Tian was indeed not handsome, with short hair and thick eyebrows. His face still had the tenderness of a young man, but there were already distinct edges. His eyes were not big, not concealing his unruliness. When he squinted his eyes, it gave people a feeling of fierceness. Kang Yu's beautiful face revealed a trace of a playful smile. "You guys think by joining hands, You can force me to bow down. Chapter 115. Repeating the threatening words just now, Hong Jun was not much better than young Master Wang. His face was pale white and immediately pointed out the accomplice who summoned him. His wild physique, his whole body bulging with muscles, was full of impact. Even looking at him from afar, he could feel that Maori's body contained a strong power. And his gaze landed on the blade in Maori's hand. The blade was old and shabby compared to Maori's bull-like figure. It was very inconspicuous. Yundi actually lost the courage to step forward. Yundi was shocked. The speed of the sword was not fast, but the temperature was extremely cold. The sword aura had not reached his body. Between his eyebrows, there was already a layer of frost. The surrounding air was bone-piercing cold. Tang Tian could not be bothered with the people below. He turned his face and asked Shangguan Wei, "Who is Hong Jun?" Other than Maori, the one who had the biggest improvement was her. The young lady in front of him had a beautiful appearance. Her temperament was cold, as though she was not tainted by the mortal world. Furthermore, her coldness and Xianxia's coldness looked similar, but in actual fact they were very different. Yundi had seen countless women. His eyes were sharp. Xianxia's coldness had a deep sense of pride. It was just that she hid it very well. But the lady in front of him was pure coldness. Ming Yong's background was not ordinary. He was knowledgeable. With one look he could tell the broken blade in Maori's hand was a star treasure. Under the shock, he activated his true power. The long sword in his hand welcomed the silver sword aura that Han Bingning had thrusted out. Young Master Wang's face revealed a look of hesitation. Ming Yong took a deep breath, took a step forward and punched out. In Star Wind City, although Han Bingning was also an expert, his ranking was lower than Sima Xiangxian's. But now Han Bingning's strength surpassed Sima Xiangxian's. The Misty Cloud Sword was the sword technique that Yundi was most proficient in. The highest level that it could be cultivated to was the 7th level. Yundi had cultivated it to the 5th level, making him outstanding amongst the disciples of the Yun family. The sword intent of this technique was faintly discernible, ethereal to the extreme, and it used the void to break the real. Furthermore, the style of the Misty Cloud Sword was elegant and at ease. Yundi was already handsome to begin with, so the two complemented each other, earning him the title of Misty Cloud Prince. One by one they were dragged up, slapped awake, threatened and testified against. Suddenly he felt like he was in an icy plain, the cold wind whistling. The guards, who originally thought that they were about to make a comeback, suddenly discovered that the 4 experts were all blocked. A ray of silver sword gleam pierced towards Yundi like an ice snake. This blockhead. Who the hell is he? So strong. The guards below gradually quietened down. They could also see the clues. But today he met his nemesis. When Tang Tian heard this, he broke into a smile. The 2 sword lights collided. Tang Tian's gaze, which harbored ill intentions, swept across young Master Wang's body. A Maori roared out in anger. The blade lights were concentrated like rain. Pa pa pa. A faint mist appeared on the blade of his sword. The sword intent was faintly discernible and ethereal. The guards in the plaza, upon witnessing this scene, were so shocked that they could not speak. Ming Yong was Jun Akiko's younger brother, but his martial techniques were extremely famous in Immortal Constellation Mountain. No one would have thought that he would actually be suppressed by a blockhead. An incomparably cold chill came from the sword hilt. His palms were almost numb. He lowered his head to look. The mist on the blade had actually all turned into tiny ice particles and fell from the blade. Awa Yuzawa was awoken by a few slaps, and looked at the grinning Tang Tian, as well as the pairs of eyes that wanted to tear him into pieces. Yundi only felt that the surrounding air had suddenly dropped a few degrees, and could not help but shiver. A tall person who was hiding in the dark was a little surprised. Honorable Martial Alliance newcomers? Their abilities are quite good and they are also young. They will have a bright future. With another big stride, the blade light was like a river and it struck head-on. It was a very simple movement, but it gave people a feeling of extreme comfort. Oh. Tang Tian nodded his head and casually pulled this young Master Wang over. Pa pa pa. A few slaps and immediately the unconscious young Master Wang woke up. The Hong Jun guards' faces changed and they raised their voices. Young Master Wang. Our young master and you are like brothers. You cannot falsely accuse our young master. However, Maori was a little impatient. Hey, if you don't want to go then I will. The golden transparent fist mark, without any fancy moves, collided with the Maori's yellow blade light. The mustached man stared at the scene. So, the plan has failed? A tall person glanced at him. Do you want us to publicly become enemies with the Honorable Martial Alliance now? This set of water sword technique was specially made for women to practice, and it was quite powerful. The most important thing was that it was very compatible with Han Bingning's character, and her progress was very fast when she practiced. Liang Qiu and Sima Xianxia also made great progress. Liang Qiu's fighting style was more stable and mature, and there was not a trace of flaw. Sima Xianxia's fighting style was completely opposite, and he was extremely gloomy like a ghost and unpredictable. I am only afraid that Tang Tian will not wait until the arrival of Master. The mustached man smiled bitterly. Ming Yong retreated again and again. A tall person also revealed a bitter smile. We can only hope that Master will arrive soon. Tang Tian was not too surprised at a Maori's improvement. Housefly Cow was extremely talented and his body was unparalleled. In addition to his hard work and the great teacher's inheritance, it was very normal for him to have such strong abilities. Very quickly, all the clues pointed to one person, the last person who was unconscious. The guards below were in a commotion. They recognized this person. Ming Yong's expression changed. A Maori's blade did not have many changes, but it was extremely wild. The blade light seemed to be scattered, but in reality, it was condensed and did not dissipate. Truly a peerless beauty. Han Bingning's expression suddenly turned cold. Her left hand slid down the blade and her right hand touched the hilt. Unknowingly, there was a layer of frost under her feet. The two of them looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Young Master Wang's face revealed a look of shame. The lake in her heart quietly reflected the figure of the young man standing at the top of the lamppost. When she realized it, she was shocked. Why would she have such a thought? Tang Tian indeed did not have the intention to continue wasting his time. He stretched out his body and shouted, "Shangguan Wei, come up." Shangguan Wei was startled. He immediately climbed up the lamppost and very quickly reached Tang Tian's side. "Son-in-law, I can finally let you see my improvement." Ming Yong looked at a Maori in front of him. His expression was solemn. But what really surprised Tang Tian was Han Bingning. And, this guy's strength was really great. Young Master Wang's face turned white again. He blurted out, "Hong Jun called me." He took a step forward. His aura changed. His beard and hair stood up in anger. His manic state was revealed. He bellowed and slashed towards Ming Yong. The mustachioed man frowned. "Should we make a move?" Shangguan Wei's face turned green. His eyes were about to spit fire. "It's Aoi Yuzawa from House Yu. Take my knife. Take my knife. Take my knife." Was a Maori practicing the wild earth knife? It was really powerful. Tang Tian could feel that Mo Li's seemingly wild and messy blade intent was condensed into one, and its power was strong. Even he had to be alert when facing a Maori's knife. Young Master Wang. Shangguan Wei was a little confused, but he was very familiar with these people. "Tangkung, my house Wang will not coexist with you." Young Master Wang's guards were inexplicably sad and angry. They roared but did not dare to step forward. Young Master Wang, who was still in a daze, suddenly shivered. He was so scared that his face turned pale. He said incoherently, "No, no, no. This is just a misunderstanding, a small misunderstanding." Emily laughed out loud. "Hey, take another strike from me." Yundi was shocked and afraid. Han Bingning in front of him was still like an ice mountain. The expression on her face did not change at all. Her eyes were lowered. She did not look charming at all. Han Bingning spat out two words, her lowered eyebrows suddenly revealing a cold intent. That knife was a secret treasure. Ming Yong retreated again. Tang Tian said coldly, "You only have one chance. If you point wrongly, I will cut off the finger you pointed at." Tang Tian smiled happily. Everyone was working hard. Tang Tian asked Shanghai Wei, "Who is he?" "Damn it. Very good." Tang Tian nodded his head solemnly. "I also feel that this is a misunderstanding. Then I will give you a chance. Tell me who brought you here." The yellow knife aura expanded and engulfed everything. All of a sudden, he felt like he was a lamb that had been washed clean and shaved, thrown into a pack of wolves that were so hungry that their eyes were green with greed. "Take my knife again." He did not come with good intentions. And his eyes were lowered. The way he stood with the sword in his hand, his heroic spirit had a tinge of gentleness. He actually felt his mouth was dry. At this time Shanghai Wei already understood Tang Tian's thoughts. He was excited. Yundi's face changed. He retreated without hesitation. Master will be here soon. A tall person said, let's not complicate matters. Immortal Constellation Mountain's movements are all planned by Master. Let's leave everything to Master. I have yet to ask for Mrs. Name? Yundi's eyes flashed with surprise. Shanghai Wei seemed to have awoken from a dream. He immediately pulled Hong Jun up from the air. A few slaps woke Hong Jun up. Han Bingning did not seem to hear anything. She did not even bat an eyelid. Tang Tian casually pulled a playboy up. Who is this guy? Han Bingning also trained in water element sword techniques. But it was no longer the rain bell. Instead it was the glacier plain. Everyone looked at Aoi Yuzawa. Their gazes darkened. They were all hedonistic. They were not good at fighting. But they were used to scheming against each other. At this time if anyone still did not understand they would be stupid. Her improvement was only second to a Maori. Did you hear that? Tang Tian pulled young Master Wang over. He said fiercely, your underlings are saying that your Wang family and I are irreconcilable enemies. Why not? Let me make the first move? Mingyong's body shook. The glass-like fist seal crumbled. A wave of tyrannical true power drilled into his body. Mingyong groaned. He retreated a few steps. Only then did he dissipate the true power. Yun family's water element sword technique. Misty Cloud Sword. Yun Di was an expert in dealing with women. He immediately noticed it. His mind swayed. He blurted out, Miss, you are so beautiful. Mingyong punched out again. He retreated again. This. A blush quietly spread on her neck. Chapter 116. Countless roars gathered into a sound wave, bringing with it a terrifying power, sweeping across the entire square, sweeping across everyone's heart. The young man standing on top of the lamppost grinned, revealing his snow-white teeth. His voice echoed across the square as if he was giving a judgment, firm and unquestionable. Using force to humiliate others is not what a man should do. Hu Yinguang squeezed out this sentence. Tang Tian took a deep breath and shouted, House Shangguan. Looking at Tang Tian's smug expression, Hu Yinguang wanted to tear Tang Tian into pieces. If I win, you're my captive. Tang Tian said matter-of-factly, how I want to deal with my captive, that's my own business, I don't need the captive's permission. Shanghai Wei panicked. He didn't expect these two to be so eloquent. They just thought they exposed the conspiracy against House Yu, and in the blink of an eye, they wanted to turn the tables. Everyone immediately broke free from the sad atmosphere created by Aoi Yuzawa. In their eyes, Tang Tian's smile was extremely vicious. Those mysterious masters, they will not let you go. Boss. Unknowingly, Yaya crawled out, smoothly climbing onto Tang Tian's shoulder, its little face flushed red, excitedly using its little bow to hit its own breastplate. Aoi Yuzawa's expression changed, shouting in fear, You can kill me but you can't humiliate me. But the guy in front of him was so steady that it made people despair. Even though it didn't have any weird moves, it was like flowing water, continuous and full of strength. He couldn't get rid of it at all. The young masters on the lamppost all showed a distressed expression. They felt that Eugene Hong's words were exactly what they were thinking. Behind them, angry roars were like waves. House Shangguan's disciples suddenly moved. Tang Tian shook his head, too soft. Eugene Hong cursed in his heart. If the truth was revealed today, House Yu would definitely become the target of everyone. Tang, just you wait. House Yu will never let you go. Tang Tian turned around and looked at the young masters. Why aren't you screaming? Tang Tian grabbed Hu Yinguang's hand. But right now he couldn't care less about anything else. He took the chance to distance himself and shouted, Tangdan, don't you dare frame my House Yu. The grudges between House Yu and House Shangguan are never taboo. That was a family grudge, but today it's a personal grudge. Zai Qing and I have admired Miss Chia for a long time, but we know that we are not worthy of Miss Chia, so we can only drown our sorrows in wine. Everyone, is there anything wrong with this heart and this sentiment? How are we different from all of you? The heart of every punch, heaven and earth can bear witness. Today's battle is only for one thing. How can a vulgar person like Tang Tian be worthy of Miss Xia? Everyone was deeply shocked by this incomparably domineering declaration. No one, under the watchful eyes of so many people in front of so many enemies, dared to say something like this. Behind Tang Tian, those young masters were all shocked to the point that their faces turned pale. Even Jun Akiko, Yuni Yao and the others looked at Tang Tian in disbelief. Even Hui Yenguang, with his unruly face, was stunned by Tang Tian's words. All the Shangguan disciples' faces were flushed red. The boiling blood in their bodies was like a raging fire, burning every nerve in their body. As if it was instinct, everyone raised the weapons in their hands, used all their strength and roared, "Shangguan house." Tang Tian showed an unsatisfied expression. "Did you not eat?" Louder. "Whoever dares to be so quiet, I'll throw him down from here." So this is the self-abandonment after being raped. Bastard. Who said rape just now? The huge square was dead silent. Tang Tian looked satisfied, waving his hand. Not bad, not bad, you're under my protection from now on. Very good, I like people with integrity. Tang Tian clapped his hands. Strip him. But he knew that the situation was urgent. No matter what, he could not let Tang Tian be convicted of the crime. Brother Guang, I'm sorry. The previous situation was hopeless. Every Shangguan disciple's emotions were suppressed to the lowest point. Their hearts were filled with anger, fear, and despair. There had never been a day like today when the Shangguan family became everyone's enemy. There had never been a day like today when the Shangguan family was besieged on all sides. There had never been a day like today when they were fearless even if they had to go against the entire world. Son-in-law. When Xianxia was really angry, he was quite terrifying. Tang Tian shouted. His voice reverberated in the square and in everyone's hearts. Brother Guang, when you're under someone else's roof, you have to lower your head. Tang Tian narrowed his eyes. I don't care who you are, which family you belong to. I don't care what you think either. I don't care how powerful you are, I don't care either. I don't know much and I don't know much either. But I've never been afraid of battle. Anyone who dares to go against me must be prepared to suffer my wrath and counterattack. Everyone revealed a sorrowful expression, feeling the same, many of their eyes turning red. Those who don't fight Tang Tian sneered. Aoi Yuzawa's face was ashen, his heart filled with grief and anger, his body cold. Countless people's sympathetic and mocking gazes gathered on him. He wanted nothing more than to find a hole to hide in. Eugene Hong's eyes almost popped out of their sockets as he watched, but he was pestered tightly by Liang Qiu. The usually calm Liang Qiu was enraged this time. Eugene Hong actually turned the tables in front of him. It was all his fault. Hui Yenguang didn't even have the desire to speak. When that time comes, I will return the humiliation I suffered today 100-fold. Aoi Yuzawa calmed down. He pretended to be angry. That's right. I was the one who pushed for this. I won't accept it. I'll take responsibility for my own actions. If you have any tricks, come at me. I'll die for Miss Xia. I'll die a worthy death. The young masters were like frightened lambs, rushing forward and stripping Aoi Yuzawa clean. Boss. He squeezed out these two words from between his teeth. So, everyone's expression changed. Target House you. From today onwards I'm your boss. Tang Tian waved his hand. All right, call me boss. Go. House you must die. Target House you. Is like a raging torrent, unstoppable. Wasn't he afraid of being surrounded? It was like the resonance of the zither, low and deep. Tang Tian finally showed a satisfied expression, but he noticed one person, Hui Yenguang, who was still tied up. This guy's mouth was tightly shut. Eugene Hong looked even worse. His hair was disheveled. A trickle of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Tang Tian pushed aside the guards. Like a big bird, he flew down, landing steadily in front of the Shangguan disciples. Hui Yenguang almost spat out a mouthful of blood. If he wasn't tied up, he would definitely slap the guy who said rape. House you must die. Kill me if you want to. Hui Yenguang's eyes were about to spit fire. Liang Qiu's expression froze. He snorted coldly, hugged his palms and slowly pushed outwards. His movements were extremely slow, as if it was very strenuous. His clothes bulged, and the air around him seemed to have stopped flowing. Strip him. Whoever doesn't want to do it, think carefully. Tang Tian waved his hand. The young masters who had already succumbed to Tang Tian's tyranny could only bite the bullet and step forward. Shanghai Wei didn't say anything. He wanted to rush forward, but was stopped by Tang Tian. Tang Tian pointed at the others. Let them come, other than Hui Yanguang, untie the others. Tang Tian pointed at Awa Yuzawa. Strip him naked. Wasn't he afraid of making more enemies? Hui Yanguang also went all out. He closed his eyes and shouted angrily, Boss? Wait. Liang Qiu let out a groan, his feet sinking into the ground, the soles of his feet completely sinking into the ground, his clothes scattering like butterflies. He retreated 10 steps, each step leaving a clear footprint. Shangguan Wei untied the ropes on the young masters. No matter what Eugene Hong did, even if it was a killer move like just now, he couldn't get rid of Liang Qiu. Tang Tian's eyes were cold. He spat out one word and took the lead. Tang Tian looked down from a high vantage point. Looking at the dense crowd below, he grinned, but his words made everyone unable to laugh. Even young Miss couldn't do this. House, you must die. Guang bro, life is like rape, you can't fight back, you can only enjoy it. Countless angry roars raging like waves. Eugene Hong's eyes flashed fiercely. He made a circle with his hands, his 10 fingers like playing a pipa, suddenly plucking at the same time. Even Hui Yanguang, who was behind Tang Tian, couldn't help but reveal a shocked expression. The young masters were like frightened bunnies as they hurriedly shouted, Boss. The young masters used all their strength, shouting loudly, all of their necks flushed red. The young masters all kept quiet out of fear. After shouting this sentence, Hui Yanguang felt humiliated and relieved at the same time. This feeling was really similar to the legendary rape. Bastard. Who said rape just now? Hui Yanguang's face changed. He roared angrily, You dare. Kill. The young masters looked at each other. The two forces collided with each other. At this time, Tang Tian's steely voice came from above. Tang Tian was speaking to the entire square. Die a worthy death? Tang Tian grinned. Very good. The suppressed emotions were instantly ignited. Shanghai Wei was also shocked by Tang Tian's words, but then he felt something in his heart, ignited. He clenched his fists tightly. What was that trembling feeling that made his body numb? What was that burning feeling that made his blood vessels burn? What was going on? What was that feeling that even if he died with the young master he wouldn't have any regrets? What was going on? The crowd in the square involuntarily gave way. They were silent, their gazes mixed with too much shock and fear. In a moment of desperation, Hui Yanguang shouted. Everyone's gaze focused on him. He felt as if his face was burning. Tang Tian raised his leg, one foot stepping on the railing at the edge of the lamppost. His arrogant gaze swept across the crowd below. He slowly raised his right fist. The green fornax flame that was enveloped in the glove was flickering, like a burning torch in the night, attracting everyone's gaze. But when everyone's hands touched his clothes, Hui Yanguang's scalp instantly went numb. Thinking that he would really be stripped naked like Awa Yuzawa, he shuddered. Tang Tian grinned. Why wouldn't I dare? Chapter 117. Tang Tian disappeared from the gap almost instantly. The martial artists on the archery tower exclaimed. They threw away their bows and jumped down from the archery tower. But they were very clear that although Master was interested in the Perseus crown, he was also responsible for many other tasks. Master could not invest too much power in this, which meant that the plan was ruined. Eugene Hong was shocked, but he did not have time to react. He felt a pain in his chest and his pupils suddenly froze. In the next moment he appeared on an archery tower. With a roar he punched a thick wooden pillar that supported the archery tower. A tall person also frowned. This guy is not simple. Look, under such a situation he can actually turn the tables. He is not as reckless as he appears. Yun Yao and Hui Yanguang were silent. The other two understood tacitly. They had heard about House Yu having a mysterious backer. Tang Tian's body froze. Let's just wait and see. Jun Akiko sighed softly. Fortunately, we are the ones who suffered this time. Although it is embarrassing, it will not affect the clan. Suddenly, a faint voice drilled into his ear. It was so demonic that it made people suffocate. What should we do? The man with the handlebar mustache looked at a tall person. The martial artists on the archery tower looked at the crowd from afar. Their scalps went numb and their bodies trembled uncontrollably. Suddenly, a cold aura locked onto Tang Tian. Use your brain. Use your brain. With Tang Tian's level 5 true power, activating the Great Avalanche was completely effortless. Han Bingning cruised beside Tang Tian, drawing his sword and never missed. A lion leading a flock of sheep was enough to tear a flock of wolves apart. Furthermore, the Shangguan clan was not sheep. The Yu clan was on the verge of collapse. The log that was as thick as a wash basin was instantly broken, and countless wood shavings flew everywhere. The arrows fell like rain. Tang Tian's bravery was definitely the most they had ever seen. However, what happened next caused their limbs to turn cold. Aoi Yuzawa and Eugene Hong's lies could fool most people, but not the three of them. Yu Mingwei's eyes burst with dazzling light. He blurted out in surprise, "He's here." Sima Xiangshan smiled innocently. A Maori and Ice Beauty Hanku have both left. If we're any later, we won't even get any leftovers. Liang Qiu harumphed coldly and disappeared in a flash. Rumble. Even the weakest among them was at least a third-order martial artist. Their arrows were wrapped in a faint light, and their power was astonishing. Tang Tian did not know any battle tactics at all. Bing was cursing and swearing in his mind and never stopped. His occupational disease made him unable to restrain himself when he saw Tang Tian rushing around without a plan. Tang Tian's thinking was very simple. He couldn't leave a future trouble for the Shangguan family. "Can't you see that this is a good entry point? Don't you have eyes?" The air in front of him seemed to be suddenly compressed into a wall of air. The arrows that hit the wall of air seemed to be frozen and could not move an inch. In the next moment, the wall of air and the arrows that were stuck in it were like an avalanche and turned into countless pieces. Unknowingly, there was a bloody hole in his chest. What made people palpitate the most was the pair of scarlet eyes. Jun Akiko nodded. "This battle is very important to the situation of our immortal constellation mountain." Tang Tian, who was running wildly, was like a rhinoceros running with all its might. He suddenly raised his fist and punched out. Tang Tian's pupils constricted. "We can't let the Yu clan perish like this," a tall person said decisively. "Whatever happens next, leave it to Master. We will protect the Yu clan first. The Yu clan is doomed this time." Jun Akiko had a complicated expression. "This Tang Tian is not simple. With his help, the Shangguan clan will definitely prosper for 300 years. If the Yu clan perished, all their plans in Immortal Constellation Mountain would be ruined. They had treated the Yu clan this way, and the other clans would not be tempted by them. Without the help of the local powers, it meant that they needed to invest more power in order to achieve the desired results. The low whooshing sound of the air breaking instantly surged out like a tide. Most of the arrows were shot towards Tang Tian. They understood that Tang Tian was the leader of the enemy. As long as he was killed, then they would be victorious. Hundreds of angry arrows were released. Tang Tian was like a ferocious tiger and no one could stop him. Amauri was also fighting crazily. His blade was like the wind and he slashed continuously. No one was a match for him. Good. The hesitation on the mustache man's face disappeared. They did not expect that Tang Tian would actually choose to initiate the attack. To them, Jia Shangguan was not around. The Shangguan clan would definitely not dare to provoke the other clans. Sima Xiangshan chuckled and disappeared as well. Great avalanche. On the lamppost, Jun Akiko, Yun Yiyao and Hui Yenguang were gathered together. Ming Yong, Yun Di and Hui Yenshan flew up the lamppost. Seeing that the three of them were unharmed, they were relieved. Closer, closer and closer. He and Chia would eventually have to go to Heaven's Road. It would be a dangerous journey and no one could predict what would happen in the future. The two of them suddenly disappeared. Yu Mingwei's face was green, but he took a deep breath. "Wait a little longer." "Clan leader." An elder shouted anxiously. Seeing the Yu clan disciples being cut up like vegetables, he was burning with anxiety. Hui Yenguang snorted, his eyes filled with killing intent. "Damn the Yu clan. I'll go kill Aoi Yuzawa." Liang Qiu stared coldly at Sima Xiangshan and did not say a word. He had to wait a little longer. Following that was another loud sound. It was a Maori who did the same thing, chopping off the supporting pillar of another watchtower. That's right. Tang Tian's background is not simple either. Ming Yong said in a low voice. These masters, it's impossible for them to have no background at all. Tang Tian had offended almost all the clans today. How would he dare to attack House Yu at this time? Wasn't he afraid that others would attack Shangguan clan's nest? Wasn't he afraid that everyone would gang up on him? Tang Tian did not listen to them. He was already in a frenzy. Not only him, all the Shangguan disciples were in a frenzy. If they took action, of course they could protect House Yu, but this would mean a direct conflict with the Honorable Martial Alliance. But if they did not do anything, today would be the day of House Yu's destruction. Tang Tian stomped on the ground and his speed increased. Like a cannonball, he broke away from the archers and appeared below the wall. The shouts were filled with panic. House Yu was in a mess. No one would have thought that Shangguan clan would really dare to start a war with them. Tia Shangguan was not here. How dare they? Are we going to watch the battle? Yuniyao raised his head and asked. It's not that simple. Yuniyao lowered his voice and said, House Yu has no backing, how would they dare to do this? Now let's see if the backing of House Yu is willing to take action. The fist that was covered in green flames sunk into the green stone like punching a piece of tofu. But what attracted more attention was the spirit general beside a tall person who was emitting a cold aura. Eugene Hong was panicking. He did not think that Tang Tian would be so unpredictable. Yuniyao shook his head. He's already dead. That creepy guy did it. He killed Awa Yuzua then went to kill Eugene Hong. Now is not the time to think about this. The mustached man frowned. If we don't take action, House Yu will definitely be destroyed. I can't think of anyone in House Yu who can stop him. Moreover, he has 4 helpers. He raised his head. Not far away, a tall person was staring at him. Shangguan clan's morale was at its peak. House Yu was definitely not a match for Shangguan clan. House Yu was in danger. Only House Yu would have the idea to attack Shangguan clan. Hui Yanguang said expressionlessly, Shangguan clan is the #1 clan in Immortal Constellation Mountain. Miss Chia is also the #1 in Immortal Constellation Mountain. Kakaka. But they did not expect that Tang Tian, who came out of nowhere, was so fierce and did not play by the rules. Even if he had to leave a beautiful future for Shangguan clan. Even if he had to leave without any worries. A tall person showed hesitation. The fate of the two of them could be imagined. Tang Tian's helpers are very strong. Yun Di chimed in. He had been beaten on the head by a woman today, but he did not lose his temper at all. Countless footsteps converged into an unstoppable flood. Close the door. Quickly close the door. Ming Zichun sighed lightly. This time we have truly suffered a huge setback, we have lost a lot of face. But when House Yu was built, they never thought that House Yu would be attacked. Why are you still struggling? Idiot, rushing to a place with a lot of people, do you think you're not dying fast enough? Tang Tian took a deep breath, and the true power in his body surged to the maximum. He stared angrily, and with a roar he punched the wall made of limestone. Rumble, rumble. I'm afraid it's a big power. Hui Yanshan nodded. There was no threat above their heads and everyone's morale was boosted. It was the first time he saw a spirit general with such a body. The spirit general in front of him was not the usual translucent gray glaze, but real flesh and blood. Dressed in a black martial attire, his exposed skin was gray, and Tang Tian could even see the lines of his muscles. His gray hair was like a ball of gray flame. Pooh. A second later, the wall in front of him crumbled like snow and turned into countless of small gravel falling down in torrents. In front of him, there was a 2-meter wide square gap, as though someone used a sword to chop off a piece of the wall. Damn it! This filled the hearts of the 3 prideful people with a sense of defeat. The arrow tower that was missing a leg made a teeth-numbing sound and started to tilt. These arrow towers were usually not used and were very simple and had not been maintained for a long time. Beside him, the experts of House Yu were gathered, and this was the last strength of House Yu. The arrow tower that was seriously out of balance suddenly collapsed and dust filled the air. The 3 of them were self-proclaimed leaders of the younger generation, but compared to Tang Tian, they realized that they were not on the same level. Ready. One of the House Yu's guards said with a trembling voice, but at this time he knew that it was a crucial moment and roared, "Release." But the Liang Qiu in front of him was pestering him and he could not get away. Go. Hui Yanguang gritted his teeth. Why not? I want to see how capable he is. Every hit seemed to knock on their hearts. Chapter 118. I am an idiot. To drag everyone down with me? Tang Tian's gaze was fixed on the gray spirit general, and turned a deaf ear to a tall person. Tang Tian's sneak attack was intercepted by Wuxia. Are we going to die like this? Are we going to give up like this? Are we going to fail like this? Are we going to die with so many people? A tall person's face was extremely ugly. He stared at Tang Tian. His face was gloomy and said word by word, possessed. Fornax. A tall person's mouth revealed a mocking smile. Are you responding to my call? Before he finished speaking, a figure flashed in front of him and a fierce chi enveloped him. Pa. The extremely dense sound of legs and palms colliding was so oppressive that it was hard to breathe. Kill. Leave no one alive. Pa 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 pa. A shadow of a leg without any warning appeared in front of Wuxi's vision. Wuxi did not have time to react and was hit by the leg. Jing Hao's long whistle came from afar, and in the blink of an eye he had arrived beside Tang Tian. They are in danger. A Maori and Liang Qiu's roars sounded at the same time, mixed with Sima Xiangshan's groan. Wuxi slowly walked towards Tang Tian. Is that all you have? A tall person was slightly disappointed. That's too disappointing. My Wuxi is a growth-type spirit general. Show me your strength and let my Wuxi learn something and become stronger. He blocked it. A tall person shook his head and sighed. Wuxi was born to fight, although you are not weak, but compared to Wuxi you are still lacking. Felt. The Fornax Gauntlet's martial spirit felt Tang Tian's will and call. His vision darkened and Wuxi appeared before him. Wuxi, kill him. A piece of the Fornax Gauntlet cracked and fell, but in the blink of an eye, it was burned and destroyed by the green flames. One by one the fragments shattered and disappeared in the green flames. Wuxi trembled like a sieve, but his arms suddenly became soft and boneless like snake whips, striking straight at Tang Tian's chest. The green flame on the Fornax Gauntlet fluttered and dimmed. Tang Tian slowly raised his head. His right arm was covered in green flames as he locked his gaze on Wuxi. Tang Tian involuntarily clenched his fists and his breathing became heavy. Wuxi knelt on one knee and slowly stood up. There was a fist-sized hole in his chest. It was a shocking sight. A blurry figure appeared in the corner of Wuxi's vision. Pa pa pa. Bang. Pa. The smile on a tall person's face turned cold. Tang Tian ignored him. His eyes flashed with a ruthless look and his attacks were like a torrential storm. Not good. Tang Tian seemed to see a few decades ago in the green flame, there was a rough embryo, continuously being hammered and forged, the martial spirit awakening bit by bit, simple and plain just like a gauntlet. Tang Tian's deformed face instantly became sinister. But for some reason the joy in his heart quickly cooled down. The terrifying strength of the two masters caused him to feel fear. Even if they won this battle from now on, the Yu clan would become the enemy's vassal. Tang Tian roared, his legs suddenly exerted strength. Sigh, his figure disappeared in the air. Suddenly a groan drilled into his ears. With that, the Corona Borealis sword in his hand shone with a terrifying light, and went straight for the mustached man's spirit general, saving a Maori and the rest who were in imminent danger. 3 rays of moonlight with a sharp whistle flew straight towards Wuxi. Wuxi, who was in midair, used his elbows to smash the 3 rays of moonlight. An angry red finger force shot from below. Wuxi's body bent strangely and narrowly avoided the finger. Tang Tian threw away the last bit of worry in his heart, his blood-red eyes were burning, and carefully placed the heavily injured blue peacock into the Aquarius martial cabinet. The 2 heavy blows just now, if not for the blue peacock's protection, he would have been heavily injured. This fist will not let you down. Bang bang bang. The Shangguan clan, who was in a bitter battle, quickly stabilized the situation. The 2 masters made a move and quickly turned the tides of the battle, causing Yu Mingwei to be overjoyed. Tang Tian, who was unstoppable just now, did not even have the strength to retaliate. And the other 4 combined forces were not the opponent of the other master. Wuxi's face was calm, his palms were so fast that it was hard for the naked eye to catch, and his defense was flawless. Bang. Hu. Pa. Fornax. The vacuum ball shattered, piu piu piu, countless streams of air like knives entered Wuxi's chest. The mud reached up to his knees. Han Bingning. Green flames spewed out and started to spread from the gloves, all the way to his shoulders. Tang Tian's entire right arm was completely engulfed in the green flames. Brother Tang. Suddenly, a dazzling sword aura lit up the entire Yu clan. Like a torrential storm of attacks came from his palms, but Tang Tian could instinctively withstand it. The green flames engulfing Tang Tian's right arm became even more intense. Damn it! Wuxia immediately felt the change and without hesitation he retreated, but a blurry shadow shot up from the ground and countless of legs exploded in front of his eyes. Tang Tian was elated, but before he could react, an extreme sense of danger enveloped Tang Tian's heart, and he instinctively bent his elbow and flipped his palm. And the other martial artists who followed Jing Hao did not hesitate to enter the battle. Han Bingning looked deeply at Tang Tian, and without saying a word he disappeared. An indescribable emotion filled Tang Tian's chest, and he almost cried. After this punch the Fornax fist glove was no more. It burned all of its power. This spirit general. What rank is he? Why is he so strong? I didn't expect you still forced us to make a move. A tall person slowly walked towards Tang Tian and sighed as he walked. To be honest, I'm very surprised. No matter how you look at it, it's quite surprising. On the surface of the glove, cracks started to appear. Absolutely not. And a cold qi wantonly destroyed in Tang Tian's body, and the true power in his body spent a lot of energy to dissolve this cold qi. Wuxi's move was too fast, so fast that he could not catch it. A transparent vacuum ball was imprinted on his chest, vacuum shock. Tang Tian's head buzzed. They came for him, they fought for him, but now they were in danger. Many details in the surroundings drilled into Tang Tian's ears. Shangguan Zhu's angry roar, Shangguan Wei's heavy breathing, a familiar scream. A tall person chuckled. How is it? My Wuxia not bad, right? He's the same as you, an expert in close combat. The number of famous martial artists that died in his hands is not small. The concentrated sounds of collisions lingered on. A tall person's tone was regretful. Since you don't want to retreat, then I have nothing else to say. To be honest, you will regret this choice. A Maori's angry roar came into his ears. The angry roar suddenly exploded in Tang Tian's heart. The boiling hot liquid flowed through his entire body. Tang Tian felt his body being ignited. He was unable to differentiate the rank of the strange spirit general. The undulations released by the spirit general were completely different from ordinary spirit generals. The spirit general's strong aura made Tang Tian not dare to act blindly without thinking. Hearing that, Jing Hao did not waste any words. Be careful. But the two seemingly soft fists were surprisingly strong. Tang Tian's body swayed and he retreated a few steps. Tang Tian flipped his palm and blocked the two fists. His face was in pain, his mouth was full of mud. Tang Tian's mind was at a loss. His heart was empty. He thought he had become very strong, but he did not expect that he could not even withstand a single blow. Is that all you have? A tall person's voice was filled with regret. In Tang Tian's ears, it became unclear as though it came from an extremely far place. But it's good to be alive. Today is the day of the Shangguan family's destruction. With his intuition he actually did not dodge it. Yu Mingwei finally played the last card in his hand. All the elites by his side suddenly attacked. The pain came and Tang Tian's entire body immediately flew out, landing heavily on the ground, plowing out a deep trace of mud. Suddenly his vision blurred. Tang Tian's pupils constricted. He snorted, lowered his waist into a horse stance, and bent his arms in front of his body to protect. Strength overflowed. A strong force came from his palms became numb and Tang Tian's legs sunk, sinking into the mud. Bang! Tang Tian's true power, without holding back, poured into the gloves. Tang Tian's vision blurred, his chest was in pain and his entire body flew out. In mid-air, Tang Tian forcefully stabilized his body, landed on the ground and staggered, blood flowing out from the corner of his mouth. Brother Jing, quickly go and help my friend. Tang Tian did not even turn his head. I can handle this. Tang Tian's heart trembled, did not even turn his head and said, you go and help a Maori. A foot stepped heavily on his face and his entire face sunk into the mud. Tang Tian's low voice was filled with determination. Without any warning, the shadow of the leg was like a whip, suddenly taking advantage of the weakness of his arms. Tang Tian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, his gaze fixed on Wuxia. It had been a long time since he was in such a sorry state. Yaya angrily pounced towards Wuxia, but was swatted away by Wuxia like a fly. No, I failed just like that. His silver eyes, which were firmly pressed into the mud, were suddenly filled with fresh blood, extremely red. Tang Tian stared fiercely at Wuxia, not saying a word. His mind was blank and he could not feel his arms. His arms were like wooden stakes, being hit continuously by a heavy wooden hammer bit by bit into the mud. I know you are a member of the Honorable Martial Alliance. A tall person said disapprovingly, the Honorable Martial Alliance is a big force, and we do not want to be enemies with you. If you bring them back today, this matter will be. Wuxia was like being hit by a sledgehammer and he flew out horizontally. Tang Tian was struck by lightning and his heart trembled. He knew that Han Bingning was an extremely strong woman. If she was not injured, she would not make such a sound. He had failed, a complete failure. There was no chance of winning at all. It turned out that he was so vulnerable in front of a true powerhouse. Wuxia quickly waved his palms. Tang Tian's pupils were blood red, but it was completely different from Wuxia's red. Tang Tian's blood-red pupils were like a blazing red flame, blazing and berserk. But Wuxia's blood-red pupils were like a deep and unfathomable pool of blood, demonic and austere. When the last piece disappeared, the green flames raged, ostentatiously and unrestrained. Tang Tian's figure suddenly disappeared. Such a fast speed. Such a strong power. His intuition towards danger was astonishing. The gray spirit general in front of him had a lingering sense of danger, causing all the hairs on his body to stand. The pair of demonic blood-red pupils did not have any emotions. Wuxia's figure did not move an inch. He raised his palm, expressionlessly blocking Tang Tian's fist. Strength overflowed, and the sound of the fist and palm colliding was exceptionally loud. Combusting the martial spirit, all the power of the star treasure would burst forth. But this required the star treasure martial spirit to choose to combusting itself. Martial spirits already had intelligence and they would instinctively reject self-destruction. Chapter 119. That's right. It is fusion. A tall person's tone did not conceal his pride. Our research on spirit cards far exceeds your knowledge. Wuxia was born because of me and returned to me. But if not for you, I would not have dared to try fusion. Its failure rate is too high. So I have to thank you. Tang Tian stared blankly at a tall person. The scene in front of him was completely beyond his knowledge. What exactly is going on? In Ghost Claw's eyes that were as deep as the night, a flame silently ignited. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew past. The skinny Ghost Claw quietly blocked in front of Tang Tian. He lowered his head to look at his palm. The palm that was burnt by the green flame had completely recovered. Playing. But your luck is better to meet this idiot. You see, you have the chance to appear again. How is it? You are very excited and looking forward to it. Your fire scythe Ghost Claw can once again create dazzling sparks in this world. You can fight again after accumulating for so many years. All the unwillingness, all the pride, can be released to your heart's content. Tang Tian suddenly stomped on the ground. The soil under his feet immediately exploded. Like rain droplets splattering in all directions, Tang Tian's figure disappeared. Too scary. What exactly is going on? The places that were burnt, not even ashes were left. Wuxia, who was hugging a ball, rolled around in the green flame, howling miserably. Tang Tian was startled but quickly reacted. Wuxia, who was rolling around in the green flame, suddenly shot up. With a long green flame tail, he entered a tall person's body. The green flame immediately enveloped a tall person's body. He became a green flaming man. Whoosh! A tall person's wails became more and more mournful. A green flame from his fingertips ignited. His expression was filled with fear and despair. The green flame was like maggots spreading from his fingertips. And Ghost Claw has this power. Every ray of light swept past, Ghost Claw's body congealed a bit more. Ghost Claw was as thin as a stick, his body was crooked, his face was expressionless, his eyes were as deep as the night. Now, Ghost Claw, who was like a statue in front of Tang Tian, suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were as deep as the night, and it was impossible to tell if he was happy or angry. You must fight with all your might. Bing. Tang Tian anxiously called out to Bing in his heart. Why are you not coming out? Ghost Claw alone is very dangerous. Bing lowered his head and quickly threw the spirit nucleus into Ghost Claw's body, and said irresponsibly, No choice, I am not a battle-type spirit general. It's fine to deal with small fries, but I'll have to rely on you for this kind of big guy. Such a powerful and strange spirit general was rarely seen even in our era. Could it be a new technology? That was possible. But, to make yourself look like neither a human nor a ghost, this kind of power, what's the value of it? The 7th level spirit nucleus contained a surge of spirit power. Every spirit nucleus entered Ghost Claw's body. A dazzling ripple lit up from Ghost Claw's feet, along his body surface, until it reached the top of his head. He suddenly raised his head, his eyes revealing a fanatical look. How is it? Are you moved? As long as you join us, you can obtain the power that you yearn for day and night. Ghost Claw disappeared like a gust of wind. Bing! Wuxi's eyes flashed a look of fear, both his arms hugging his head, his body curled up into a ball. And, the feeling that Ghost Claw in front of him gave him a very unusual feeling. The blood in his body was boiling, the blazing power seeping into every corner of his body. In our era there were no such strange fellows. This world has progressed so much that I am somewhat at a loss. You know, instructors and these kinds of people are usually very inflexible. Pupiu. As though he was talking in a dream, he said, "This is power. It really makes people intoxicated, making people unable to extricate themselves. From today onwards I am called Wuxia." A skinny figure appeared in front of Tang Tian. Pop! Bang! The transparent ball of light was like a soap bubble blowing, completely enveloping Wuxia, and what was surprising was, the color of the vacuum ball had a faint green color. A tall person's eyes flashed a trace of sternness, suddenly releasing a mournful scream. Awakened? Tang Tian was stunned. The unprecedented huge vacuum ball shattered. But you have so. Tang Tian held on to his knees, panting, eyes wide open, staring at Wuxia who was rolling in the flames. At the same time that punch gathered all of his strength. But, the opponent was too strong. How could Ghost Claw fight him? His vision was blurry. In the fast-flying wind, the green flames wrapped around his right arm, warm and strong. This punch will definitely not let you down. The skinny and tough 5 fingers that were like hooks staggered. The sound of the hooks rubbing against each other actually produced the sound of metal. Your spirit general better be stronger, if not there is nothing to chew. I'm not interested in weak spirit generals. His intuition became clearer. Controlling the surging true power was not that difficult. His entire body was filled with endless power. Just based on his strength, Tang Tian felt that he could kill a bull with one punch. Ah ah ah. The tall man's blood-curdling screams suddenly became louder. His voice was mixed with intense pain and his body trembled violently. The flesh on his body was like flowing mud, squirming. The scene was unspeakably terrifying. Such a pity they don't have it. Tang Tian suddenly roared, pouring all of his strength and conviction into his fist. Accompanied by the sound of flames, he punched out. In the next moment, Tang Tian appeared beside Wuxia. Suddenly, an astonishing aura, with a tall person as the center, suddenly swept in all directions. The dazzling light from the fire illuminated the blurry figure in front of him. The thin air blade entered Wuxia's body, curling up into a ball. Wuxia's body, like a sieve, trembled violently. In the martial spirit chamber, Bing's voice floated out. An even brighter light burst out, extremely glaring, reflecting Wuxia's stunned face. It was Ghost Claw. Countless green flames spewed out from Wuxia's body, rushing to the sky. Wuxia's voice broke Tang Tian's train of thought. Since you are not willing to admit defeat, then I will let you see what is the strongest power that a spirit general possesses. Am I going to win? Tang Tian was stunned. The corner of his mouth exposed a cold smile. This was the first time Tang Tian entered the demonic state and did not lose control of himself. If it was any other time, he would definitely be pleasantly surprised by his current state. Bing's voice was resolute and decisive. The flames on a tall person's body slowly extinguished. His body once again was exposed in front of Tang Tian. A tall person's face actually became similar to Wuxia's. The most eye-catching was the pair of blood-red pupils, which were exactly the same as Wuxia and the gray skin. This fist will definitely not let you down. Tang Tian stared blankly at the skinny figure in front of him. 10 7th level spirit nuclei. At that time it cost Tang Tian a total of 1,000 points. If not for Bing's strong request, Tang Tian would not even bear to buy them. Ding. Hee hee. A tall person's laughter was hoarse and dry. I did not expect you to force me to this stage. But I have to thank you from the bottom of my heart. If not, how could I fuse with Wuxia? The flames in the blood-red pupils burned wantonly. Tang Tian's fist solidly struck Wuxia's body. Tang Tian's mind was blank, blank after losing all his strength. Wuxi's elusive dodge in Tang Tian's eyes for the first time became so clear. The smile on Bing's face disappeared. He looked at Ghost Claw seriously and said word by word. Killing technique vacuum shock. But at this time his mental state was unprecedentedly focused. In the bright red pupils, there was only Wuxi. In front of the gray fist, the 5 skinny fingers did not move an inch. Bring along your unwillingness, bring along your pride and fight. Bing's voice was filled with fatigue. I am not a battle-type spirit general. I am just an instructor. Rushing and killing is not my forte. But don't look down on Ghost Claw. I have awakened him. The sparks from the fire scythe Ghost Claw. You must definitely burn their eyes. Even in death you are not willing. This time I have paid a huge price. All of them are 7th level spirit nuclei. Your strength can definitely be maintained at your peak. When you were alive your peak was very short. Although the remnants of your martial spirit is already very little. But I know you are still not willing. A Grandmaster grade claw technique, your original creation of the fire scythe Ghost Claw, actually became extinct. Right? Xiao. A tall person screamed. His entire body seemed to be hit by a powerless force and directly flew out. Fusion. Tang Tian stared at him in disbelief. Spirit General. Wuxi was surprised, but immediately after, as if he had seen the most ridiculous thing, he laughed. What did I see? Spirit General. God, there is actually someone playing with spirit generals in front of me? Too funny. Isn't this showing off in front of an expert? Oh, isn't this a little rude? I'm sorry, I really can't help it. Bing raised his head. The face that was painted like a poker lingered with a faint sadness, but he revealed a smile. His 5 fingers were like claws sweeping through the air. The claws rubbed against the air, lighting up 5 dazzling flames. Inside the green vacuum ball, Wuxi's demonic red pupils for the first time revealed a look of panic. Everyone who witnessed this scene had a horrified expression on their faces. But at this time the 7th level spirit nucleus, as if it was free, was flicked into Ghost Claw's body by Bing. Bing's face revealed a smear of blood. He used force to pat Ghost Claw's shoulder. His eyes were wide open, as if he was encouraging those soldiers who were on the battlefield for the first time. He roared, "Go! Fight Ghost Claw!" His voice was still floating in the wind. His figure had already disappeared. Countless thin air blades from all directions frantically surged towards Wuxi. It must be Bing's trick, but why didn't Bing do it himself? This is my last chance to give you. A tall person's calm tone revealed a faint killing intent. Yes. The awakened Ghost Claw will be very strong. Although I do not know exactly what method the opponent is using, but I believe a martial technique that has been tempered hundreds and thousands of times will forever be the most fundamental power. Bing's voice was filled with confidence. Are you very excited? Bing muttered to himself. His tone gradually became gloomy, involuntarily mixed with a trace of sadness. If the group of assholes have such a chance, they will definitely turn the world upside down. Chapter 120. A ray of earthy yellow light like a waterfall descended from the sky. The sparks from the fire scythe Ghost Claw must burn their eyes. With Tang Tian's current strength against an ordinary 6th level martial artist, he would not be at a disadvantage. But against Wuxi he did not seem to have any power to resist. What was Wuxi's level? In Tang Tian's mind he was at least at the 7th level. Tang Tian's spirit was suddenly roused. The 7th level Ghost Claw against the fused Wuxi, both parties should be evenly matched. Every claw was extremely fast, as though it was gliding through the air, bringing forth a series of sparks. Tang Tian's strength had shocked her, and now that he had the inheritance of the fire scythe Ghost Claw, his future was limitless, and she immediately had the intention to rope him in. What everyone could see was a dazzling ball of light so bright that it could burn their eyes. The light dissipated and the skinny, stooped figure was now emitting an unparalleled tyrannical chi. Among all the martial techniques, claw techniques were the weakest in terms of strength, but the fire scythe Ghost Claw in Ghost Claw's hands was able to contend with Wuxi in terms of strength. Wuxi's strength was extraordinary, even stronger than Tang Tian, but no matter how much Wuxi attacked he could not advance an inch. Tang Tian was very quickly attracted by Ghost Claw's fire scythe Ghost Claw. The Ghost Claw in front of him was upright without any ghost chi. But Tang Tian knew the fire scythe Ghost Claw could similarly be filled with ghost chi. He had personally experienced it before. Such a pity. Although Jing Hao's current strength was not as good as hers, but in the honorable group his foundation was much stronger than hers. Unknowingly this voice resonated in his mind. A charred and smooth tunnel from Ghost Claw's feet extended far away. Everything in this tunnel turned into ashes and disappeared. Don't you think it's weird? Actually, it's not weird, this is a true martial technique. Ghost Claw's true power was not considered strong, but he had created the Fire Scythe Ghost Claw, and his attainments in claw arts were truly at the Grandmaster level. Regardless of whether it is an army that uses mechanical weapons, or the current Honorable Martial Alliance's star treasures, or this method of relying on spirit generals, the true deciding factor in a battle is still martial techniques. They saw an unforgettable scene. Her gaze fell on Wuxia, who was roaring repeatedly, but she couldn't help but have a trace of surprise. When the light dissipated, everyone was stunned by the scene in front of them. The snow-white light reflected on everyone's faces, which were filled with shock and fear. Even the strong ones like Kang Yu and Jing Hao were shocked by the dazzling light. Jing Hao was completely stunned. He saw with his own eyes how Tang Tian subdued Senior Ghost Claw's blue peacock. Senior Ghost Claw's spirit general actually appeared in front of him, and it was so strong. Kang Yu, who was hiding in the dark, looked at the skinny figure and her eyes lit up. When any kind of martial technique broke through to the Grandmaster level, it also meant that its power could break through the restrictions of the level. Sparks flew in front of them. Senior Ghost Claw's every claw was so pleasing to the eye. Everyone's gaze subconsciously looked towards the source of the qi. The barefooted man looked around, and when he saw Jing Hao his eyes lit up, but when he saw the spirit general that Jing Hao was fighting his eyes flashed with disgust. Everyone had yet to regain their senses from the barefooted man's shocking blade, when suddenly there was another strong qi that was not inferior to the previous blade. Dazzling, blazing, fast to the extreme, destroying everything. Wuxia's roar was like that of a wild beast, his attack was like a raging sea, while Ghost Claw was like a reef. No matter how monstrous the waves were, they would definitely shatter when they hit it. But countless sparks flew in front of Tang Tian. In a flash, the dazzling light aura exploded, causing everyone's eyes to be snow-white and nothing could be seen. The strong and suffocating qi caused the snow-white to be even more intimidating. Tang Tian and Ghost Claw had crossed hands before, and personally experienced the power of the Fire Scythe Ghost Claw, although at that time Ghost Claw's power was greatly reduced. But this made Tang Tian feel that every claw of Ghost Claw had an additional incomprehensible feeling. To use 5 fingers to rub against the air to create sparks, the difficulty was obvious. Tang Tian's intuition was astonishing. Ghost Claw's 5 fingers swept through the air, causing ripples, and was caught by him. You must be unresigned, right? The scene in front of him gave Tang Tian a feeling that Ghost Claw was a cut above. Every claw was incomparably violent. It wasn't erratic, it wasn't strange, it was violent. Swift and powerful, and clashing head-on with Wuxia, he did not seem to be at a disadvantage. The light aura of the 5 fingers at an astonishing speed became even more dazzling and incandescent. Ghost Claw's skinny body, as though it was cast from copper, did not move an inch. Ghost Claw's hands were astonishingly fast. Every claw would definitely bring about sparks. A look of admiration surfaced in her eyes. She had to admit, Senior Ghost Claw's comprehension of martial techniques was much stronger than hers. This was the first time she had witnessed such a superb claw technique. Lowering his elbow, his jet-black, steel-like fingers slowly extended forward. He raised his right arm. The 5 fingers were like hooks, facing the direction where Wuxia disappeared. Wait a minute. Tang Tian was stunned. A ray of dazzling lightning. What was Wuxia's level after fusing? Ghost Claw also seemed to be stunned by this world-shocking blade. But following that, in his eyes that were as deep as the night, a flame was burning. He suddenly raised his head and let out a long whistle. The long whistle was sharp and piercing, but like smoke it was continuous. The barefooted burly man took out his blade and roared, "Chop!" Wuxia was scared half to death by the barefooted burly man's blade, and without hesitation he turned and ran. Just at this time, suddenly, a barefooted burly man with unkempt hair and a dirty face flew over from afar. The burly man's clothes were tattered, and he carried a broadsword on his back. Although it was fast, it was not hard to see with the naked eye. On the contrary, you would feel that every claw was extremely clear. Everyone's gaze once again converged on Tang Tian's body. As expected of a Grandmaster-grade claw technique. The sparks from the fire scythe ghost claw, you must burn their eyes. The barefooted burly man was moved. He could not help but look over such a strong aura. Hearing that, Jing Hao's body froze, but in the next moment he almost stumbled to the side. But it was these extremely clear fire scythe ghost claw that seemed to be able to easily block Wuxia. Violent. With a cold snort he bellowed, "Little Jing Hao, get out of the way." These people would definitely become the honorable martial group's greatest enemies. Tang Tian's gaze was tightly locked. Ghost Claw's 5 fingers were shining with sparks. It was hard for him to describe this feeling. In the dazzling light, the jet-black hook-like 5 fingers suddenly grabbed. Bang. Why did I let you practice the martial technique bitterly over and over again? Because only by doing so can you grasp the essence of the martial technique. The other things, regardless of whether they are treasures, mechanical weapons, intuition, etc., the value of their existence, are all to better display the power of your martial technique. Senior Ghost Claw's 5 fingers swept through the air, forming ripples. It was rather unique. The ripples were extremely flat and fine, like the ripples of a pointed-bottom boat flying close to the surface of the water. She who had just stepped into the 8th level in terms of true power, she was stronger than Ghost Claw, but if the two of them were to fight, she knew that she was definitely not Senior Ghost Claw's opponent. He was like an ordinary old man with his back bent. He slowly and quietly walked to Tang Tian's side. Ghost Claw's power, Bing had said before, was 7th level. A few feet wide, a few miles long gorge split the entire Yu clan into 2. This battle, you have to watch it well. A Grandmaster level claw technique is not something that can be easily seen. Only lightning could describe this ray of light. Ghost Claw's elbow did not move, his forearm slightly raised, his true power surging, his entire person emitting an astonishing aura. The ground beneath his feet started to crack at an alarming rate. As if he knew Tang Tian's doubts, Bing's voice sounded out in Tang Tian's mind. Tang Tian's eyes could not bear to move away, his right palm hooked his fingers, subconsciously imitating Ghost Claw's movements. She knew all the seniors and experts in the Honorable Martial Alliance like the back of her hand, the infamous Fire Scythe Ghost Claw. How could she not have heard of it? But seeing such a superb Fire Scythe Ghost Claw, she was dazzled. Ghost Claw slowly stood up. In his eyes that were as black as the night, the flames dissipated. But when Jing Hao appeared, she knew it was over. Even the barefooted burly man, his face congealed, his eyes revealed a look of shock. He exclaimed, "Fire Scythe Ghost Claw." Kong Yu's face also revealed a look of shock. Senior Ghost Claw, was he actually this strong? Tang Tian threw all thoughts of the battle out of his mind. In his eyes, there was only claw after claw. Embedded in the ray of light, Ghost Claw's skinny figure was also engulfed by the light, unable to be seen clearly. Tang Tian could not judge. What he could tell was, after the fusion, Wuxia was much stronger than before. He did not know if Senior Ghost Claw did it on purpose. His every claw made Tang Tian extremely mesmerized. It was as if every detail was clearly displayed in front of him. There was obviously nothing complicated, but it revealed an indescribable beauty and mystery. The current Wuxia was much stronger than before, but even so he still could not do anything to Ghost Claw. The earth quaked. Everyone felt as though they could not stand steadily. Their vision was filled with the trembling yellow blade aura. All of them were overwhelmed with shock. The Ghost Claw in front of him was so strong that Tang Tian felt unfamiliar. Pa. Her intention to rope him in disappeared, and she purely admired Ghost Claw's Fire Scythe Ghost Claw. Fire Scythe Ghost Claw's name was one of the top claw techniques of the Honorable Martial Group, and could be said to be very familiar, but it was the first time she saw it. Fire Scythe Ghost Claw. Tang Tian actually had Senior Ghost Claw's spirit general. It seemed like he definitely obtained Senior Ghost Claw's martial spirit. No wonder she saw Tang Tian's armor was so familiar. It was the blue peacock. The dazzling light aura exploded from his 5 fingertips. The bright light aura shone on the skinny figure. His right claw was completely immersed in the dazzling white light aura and could not be seen. Who would have thought they would actually achieve it? Was this the secret of Fire Scythe Ghost Claw? You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.